Evening all, we're back again, and we have a special guest in tow. You know you love him. You only come back here for this. He is, we love him. Alon, how are you this evening? Oh,
I'm
sorry,
great.
morning,
Morning.
afternoon,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's morning. Yeah. It's about 1:20 p.m. over here. Everything's good. Sun is shining. It's very cold. As cold as my FPL team, and my rank is falling. But we'll talk through it. This is always therapeutic. This is always good for me. I think basically from this point on, we'll mark where my season really kicked on, and I just start flying. So here we go.
Well, we're here to sort of provide a salve for you. You know, Danny's here with the sort of the warm, fluffy towels. He's prepared, the balms to give you a nice foot rub to put everything right in your FPL season. I just imagine you as a bit of a masseuse, Danny. How are you this evening?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Well, I dabble.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about Alon last night. I was like, because we'd spoken on Sunday or whatever, whenever it was on the weekend, and saying he was going to come on, and obviously then Bruno got that hole last night, and I thought, shit, 'cause I knew Alon was already having like he wasn't happy with week. He was going, shit, has he got Fernandez? I was like, please
Of
tell me
course not.
Bruno. I had to like, check the teams. I was like, oh no, I feel so bad that he's coming on. He's got to do 2 pods, after a terrible week.
Fight fire with fire.
Yeah,
Well,
but now it's
you have been uniquely unlucky lately, Alon, has to be said.
We'll talk about luck, I think, a little later, maybe,
Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we will. But we made the mistake the other way. I said I wasn't going to mention this, but we made the other mistake a week or two back. I think we got talking about cheap defenders, didn't we? And I mentioned a colleague / friend of Danny and I's who had, paraphrasing this, a hard-on for Savona, and you acted upon that hard-on. And has it produced the results that you wanted? He got a -1 this week, didn't he?
Yeah, he got 6 the first week, and then he -1 to me on the other side of that. So, I don't know if you guys saw the yellow card he got in the 20th second on Grealish, but it was that hasn't been given all season. I mean, they just
that was mad. I literally watched that today. I caught up with the games I hadn't seen on Match of the Day today, and I was like, "What? How can you give a yellow for that after 30 seconds?" It wasn't like it was malicious. It wasn't last man.
It was just the most normal foul. Like that happens 50 times a game, and they don't give yellows until the 60th minute for those. Whatever.
So weird.
Yeah, and so that's probably part of why he got ripped at half. Also, maybe just fatigue, pile up, whatever. But I still feel good with him. I still feel like he's a fine pick. But yeah, the -1 hurt. The -1 just was a pile on my like terrible week. I mean, I've gone down millions of places. So yeah, we'll talk it through.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Definitely taking a bit of a bashing.
Yeah.
Of all the people he was playing as well, he's playing against Jack Grealish. Imagine you've got to play a Premier League football game and mark Jack Grealish for 90 minutes. And you're like the guy who literally gets more fouls than anyone else probably in the world.
Yeah. It's a way. Also, the Everton fans are going to be screaming every single foul, send them off. Like it's just impossible. Yeah.
What can you do? I'll just talk a little bit about what we're looking at. So it's quite exciting because obviously, I know everyone's got all the free transfers, etc. But Alon, you don't just have 5 free transfers. You have an entire squad to play with. You are on free hit, aren't you? Is that right?
I have infinity free transfers. Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually pulled the trigger yet because there's no reason to. But
yeah,
I think I should. I mean, I'm curious what you guys think, but I think it makes sense for me to do it this week. I have a Calafiori suspension. I have some mixed fixtures. I think it's probably the only week for the rest of the first half of the season where I feel okay swerving Holland or City in general, which I'm curious what you guys think as well. But away Palace is really tough, and I definitely won't be captaining him. And I probably just won't have any City players in my free hit. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it makes sense. I mean, if I were not to free hit, I'd be using minimum 3 out of 5 free transfers just to field a good 11 this week, I think. And that doesn't really feel good either. So I free hit. I kind of get through the Calafiori suspension, get on the other side of a bad City fixture, reevaluate my team after, and then I'll still have the 5, and I'll probably use at least, my 2 AFCON guys and maybe 1 more after that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. We'll definitely look at that later. I've seen a couple of people today who have been talking about one of those free hitting during one of those Liverpool sort of strong home fixtures in 2 or 3 weeks' time. You know, they got kind of Wolves and Burnley and that sort of thing. So I guess that's the other option. But then it will probably ruin your Christmas. So maybe this is the better. Maybe this is the better way.
That's what I was gonna joke. I mean, I already have Mo, so who even needs to? I don't even need to free hit those weeks. I'm set on Liverpool, no problem.
I think you're the only person I know that owns him. I mean, that is such a
me and Walsh, but Walsh already got rid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Please do pass on from Danny and I that we love Walsh as well. By the way, I sometimes think if he thinks that we invite you on, it's a positive for you, not a negative for him. And if he he has many hours to spare, then maybe he can join us one day as well. Quick, just a couple of sort of admin things from my side as the button pusher. I did manage to update this from yesterday in the end, although apologies that it looks like a pile of whatever on the screen. But the new leader from last week maintains their spot. So Sarah Armenius. Which is an exciting. She was basically recommended by, I think, her partner who watches this and says, "Stick your team in; it's really good." And she went straight to the top. Yeah, that's quite exciting. And also, you know, it looks very good for us. Female at the top of our mini league. You know, we're the sort of pro diversity podcast as close as we possibly can be before we get cancelled for everything else that we do. Zach Farnell, number 2, who I'm sort of personally been rooting for because he's been perennially third for the whole of the season, it seems, and he's number 2. John Edgar, I think, is on quite a few leaderboards actually, so he does well. But there's a couple of new names in there: James Early and Navarre Martin. I mean, that is a classy name if I've ever. But I'm just going to have a shout out to players of the week here. Basically, Alon, how this works is I scroll down the first couple of pages of whoever's in our mini league, and if I see a high score, they go there because I can't be bothered to read the whole thing. But I know that Gareth Pashley, who's been sort of right down the bottom of our mini league for much of the time, but is I said avid viewer, that makes us sound better than we are. But he has a picture of a lovely dog. I think it's a lurcher in his profile pic. So if he joins us, please do shout out Gareth, because I do like that dog picture. That's 91 points alongside Henrik Sorensen.
Can I just jump in really quick? Because
the
double Mikkels on the dime is that's a reference to a Minutemen album, and I just did my Spotify Wrapped, and Minutemen was randomly at the top of it, and I was like, whoa, I guess I'm a giant Minutemen fan. But yeah, they're awesome, and they have a great doc on YouTube if anyone's into Minutemen. So
they are. It's a great album. It's kind of it's one of those albums with loads of songs that last sort of for 2 or 3 minutes each, but they're all pretty catchy. So do get into that. I think it's from the 80s, isn't it? Minutemen.
Yeah, their EPs are the reason it was like top of my Wrapped. I realized because all the songs are like 30 seconds. So I just listened to the EP like 9 times in a row because to last the length of a normal album, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm the.
Alon, I feel we're in dangerous territory here. This is the kind of thing where I get glances from Danny, because as soon as I start talking about music, we could be here for half an hour. But yeah, do check that out. It is a good album. Gareth has actually just joined us in the chat. That's the dog picture. If you can see it right in the corner there. But he's pulled over the car to say hello, hopefully safely, Gareth. Just imagine someone swerving to the side of the road, just like, quick, I've got last resort on, I need to say something. But yeah, there we go. But both of those two managers mentioned there, I do approve of the name Pie Train, by the way. I mean, if I was going to have a train, it would be made of pie. They both captain Bruno and got Tarko off the bench.
Oh,
bloody. How'd you manage that? Well, I mean, Munoz, I suppose, but yeah, that's how you manage that. But Danny, I just wondered if did you want to make any kind of jibes related to Bruno? Because I know that you do love a quick Bruno mention, but or would you like to save it? Entirely up to you.
I will save discussion about Bruno. I'll just say that I told you so.
Yeah, we are short and sweet.
Do the eyebrows. Do the eyebrows gif.
You know? Oh yeah. I need to get Yeah.
Everyone's going to own him now, I suppose. But what can you do? Last shout for this though. Couple of weeks time, probably I'll shut this down. So do join. Code LZKI6K. So if you can be bothered to press some buttons, do join. Let's have a quick review of last week then, Alon. I don't know how well you can read this, but it's probably not. Put it this way: this isn't the ideal week to come on to share last week's score, is it? But do you want to talk us through it? How did it go? What happened?
Nothing good. Calafiore picked up his 5th yellow, got a 1-pointer. Savona, aforementioned, -1. King auto subbed on for Mo, who, most people, including myself, thought Mo would finally start. It's before we knew about all the behind the scenes drama. So it was just like, yeah, Mo will probably start. It's a good fixture. I don't know. It's very eerily similar to my last season, which is I kind of have all the right guys, and then I managed to just mangle my team in such a way where it's almost unrecognizable. I'm like, wait, when did I get rid of Bruno? When did I get rid of, Tarko? When did I get rid of KDH? Like Foden, all of these things have all happened within the last 6 game weeks of me owning all of these players and slowly getting rid of them for, now reasons that are unknown to even me. Keen also, I'm just like, well, when did all of this happen? And now I look at my team and I'm just like, oh my God, what have I done? It just looks bad. It just looks really bad.
Yeah.
So it's no good. It's no good.
All the right players, all at the wrong time, right? It's one of those classic FPL issues, But there's a lot of good names there. I suspect you'll be bringing a few of them back in. But I have to say, one thing you did do well though here, and not many people have done it, is you stuck firm with Njai until the last. I know Danny, I think, has done the same. But I made a terrible move a couple of weeks ago where, the outcome was terrible. Sorry. Where Saar went to Njai just because I could at the time, and it was fine, and there had nothing else to do. I only had one AFCON guy, and that has gone horribly. So, so I kind of wish I'd sticked with Njai until this point. So it's a good move.
It's one of the only things I did right, and it's kind of interesting to juxtapose those two things of holding Njai when he's not really playing particularly well. He looks okay. He always does flashy stuff every game, but he's not looking great for points. I think broadly the chat around him would be, whether it's Walsh, my co-host, or just other people on Twitter or whatever, would be like, bad pick, get rid, blah, blah, blah. Similar to how people talk about Bruno or talk about, other guys in the past. And I just, for whatever reason, he was the one I kept. And guess what? He came good, and I just need to work on my decision making is really what it is.
I think we've got some interesting questions later. Just thoughts for our own team, because I've been looking at this midfield and thinking, really, there are so many guys that I want that are away now that I want to come back to. Brian and Jai, Saar, all those kind of guys. So midfield is a bit of a deadbeat area at the moment. It's quite interesting that people have got. Put it this way: our good friend Jossie, who I mentioned earlier, that my work colleagues like him because he looks like a male model. He went early on a transfer last night, and it just kind of summarizes the situation in midfield. He went early on Harry Wilson, which I thought was. It's one thing going early on
insane.
Like Phil Foden, but Jossie, I've got to hand it to you. That is classic trigger happy play there, and I hope it goes well for you. But let's go to this is me. It's such a kind of odd holding week, isn't it? Really, that it just feels like treading water until we could have done these mid-5 transfer period, etc. But really, just 2 midfielders there kind of saved the day a bit, with Foden coming in for Semenyo, which turned out to be pretty good. What else happened? Nothing else happened really. I'm still looking at a couple of those midfield spots, and now that they're there, I'm not really happy with it. Minte's been there for quite a while, and I know the good fixtures coming up, but he doesn't shoot a lot and all the other stuff. He's a winger and so on and so forth. Anderson, he's one of those moves where you look back and you're like, I made that move. Why did I make that? It's fine. But I don't. You need to have the patience, right? So to keep him, it's going to mean playing a different formation, I think, to be honest with you. So we'll come to that. But yeah, it's okay. definitely a few holes to fix. Senesi on the bench is annoying, blah, blah, blah. And as you can see, I've held firm with Pope because I didn't want to make a goalkeeper transfer. In fact, goalkeepers is something that no other pod wants to ever talk about, and I do because it's quite important to me. So I heard at the end of your pod, actually, whether it was yesterday, I think, Alon, and you were kind of like, goalkeepers, who cares? Like the segment was over within about a minute. I was like, damn.
You and Walsh could just do your own separate 2 hours
Yeah, he's
on
coming
keepers.
Fireside.
Because he wants to talk about keepers every single week, and my take was just they're all fine. I don't know. I don't care. Yeah.
It is an odd, we'll talk about it later, but there is a predicament with that, isn't there? There's a lot of kind of cheap keepers with good fixtures that kind of suck, and then there are a lot of expensive keepers with less good fixtures that you don't really want to spend the money on, but you rely on them more and that sort of thing. So it's
Right.
it is going to be a tricky one. Over to Danny. He's the high scorer here with 62. Danny, give yourself a quick pat on the back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good week in the end. United obviously saved by United. Strange week, really. I was a little bit frustrated at first because the whole week I wanted to bring O'Reilly in this week, and I didn't because I just wasn't sure enough that he'd start. I thought he'd start, but I thought, you've got to look at these things really objectively. And even if it's like 60% sure, that's not great because that's 40% not going to play. But I did really like that kind of the City fixture for the clean sheet. I thought the City clean sheet was actually pretty nailed on, and I sort of said that Sunderland would be tired, which they were. I mean, it's just such a different thing when a team like Sunderland have suddenly got to play 3 times in a week, and then you got to go against Man City. It's a complete nightmare. You're already knackered and you're not going to touch the ball. And I just thought that was a pretty nailed on clean sheet, which it was. But thankfully, he only got 6 points, and and also I don't have any regrets anyway because it would have completely changed the whole path of my team. That's the sort of funny thing, isn't it? That I'd be 4 points up on that now, but who knows what it'll look like in a few weeks because all my team will look entirely different now. The fact that I didn't go for O'Reilly last week. But yeah, apart from that, a little bit frustrating. Obviously in defence, I mean, Lacroix frustrates me every week. It's disproportionately and irrationally bothering me just because single because he's not actually, I don't think, that far behind in points, and he's doing quite well. But every single time I'm watching, because it's the only thing you watch with Palace is the chances at set pieces. I mean, if you've not got Munoz, you're looking at the chances at set pieces, and you're basically counting DEFCON. And every single time I look, Richards is already on like 8 or 9, and the Lacroix's there with 3, and I've paid extra money for him. Still haunted by the game week 4 when I could have had Gay at 4.5, and I literally price farmed. I price farmed him that week to 4.8. Didn't go there, which is silly, really. That's just kind of, it's not silly. It's difficult to judge that decision because obviously I've kind of put maybe too much stock in previous season stats and DEFCON and stuff. So I can't really regret that, but it's obviously a bit. I mean, 4.5 and he's now like 5.2 or something. Yeah. So the game is attacking return every week, and then you check the DEFCON and Richards in the DEFCON, and Lacroix is like, "What are you doing, man?" It's just like so frustrating. And then obviously Virgil I wasn't expecting a clean, but then it was. We'll talk about Liverpool later, and obviously we will, and Alon's Liverpool, but obviously very strange because we were in total control until the usual capitulation, and he had a couple of chances again, and he DEFCON'd, and then he got booked, and it was like to end up with 2 points for Virgil was annoying. I mean, again, a potential flip side of that, which I haven't really thought about until now, which we'll talk about, is even with these 5 free transfers, nobody's going to buy him. You can't say that about many players who are actually potentially quite good picks. And I still think he's potentially, obviously he could just continue to be terrible, but he's potentially quite a good pick given the fixtures that are coming up in a few weeks, and nobody's going to buy him. So that I don't mind that so much. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Semenyo, I just watched the highlights. He played really well again. I don't know how he blanked. And Jai was sensational, and I didn't realize that he could have had more than he got. I mean, we have to talk about Everton as well, but that's how good is Njai like that? That assist.
Love watching him.
Who glides with the ball like Njai? Who runs with the ball? I don't think anyone. Even
Hazard.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Even if you like looking at Xavi Simons on the weekend, for example, with that great goal, and he had a brilliant performance, and he's the sort of player who glides with the ball really well. Nobody glides with the ball like Njai. And that the way the layoff, it looks like nothing, but you knew it would be a 10 out of. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect to set Barry up, could it? I just love that from Njai. What a player he is.
And Milenkovic was just shitting himself. Like he turned Milinkovic one way, turned Milinkovic another way. He's slow already, and he's just doing this. His head is just on a swivel. He has no idea where the ball is going. Passes it behind him. It's just like, yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's so natural to him, and I can't wait to see. I mean, it's really be really interesting to watch Njai's career because, you know, you kind of think if he was at a better club, say I don't know, like if he was at a better team like Arsenal or City or something, that you know you get to see his attacking traits more often. But there is a sort of thing where I don't know, he is so unselfish and kind of defensive that I don't know, can somebody get more out of him from an attacking point of view and potential? I don't know. So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, we have to talk about United later. And other than that, though, yeah, it was, you know, pleased, pretty. I mean, didn't move up much, just pretty much grey arrow, small green, which is ridiculous, really. Because I looked at my mini leagues, by the way, and that's kind of quite nice about the week is that everyone's in my mini leagues. Everyone's around your score, to be honest, Alon. Like,
yeah,
you know, you think you've done terribly, which it was a bad week, but it's my mini leagues with my sort of casuals, family and friends and all that sort of stuff. They're all on those scores, so it's kind of a weird one.
I'm a casual.
Oh, actually, I should give my father-in-law Les a shout out. He was down visiting at the weekend, and he gave me some notes on the podcast. He reassured me that anyone that he'd shared it with said it's too long. so I thought that was a great review. We'll work hard and try and get a couple of minutes down here and there. But what can you do? Good review. Whilst I'm here, before we go on to kind of questions and so on, I should say hello to the chat because I don't think I have properly. So evening to various people, evening to Eno. He's rooting for a Kane blank and listening to us on a perfect Tuesday evening. That sounds good. FPL hippie. There we go. Flower power. And lots of other people as well. General Zod. Now, General Zod, Ken, as I know, is actually his proper name. We're going to need your advice soon because actually I'm eyeing up that Everton fixture run in a couple of weeks' time. So please do update us on that. I'm interested in getting one of their defenders and maybe a midfielder a bit later on. Actually, even the goalkeeper, frankly, there's a few spots that they could fit into. So and whilst you're there, do make sure you not only smash like and subscribe for us, but of course, Alon needs cheering up this cold winter, with his difficult game week as well. So head over there, show him some love, and that will be nice as well.
Thank you.
On FML FPL. Sorry, I didn't actually say the full name, but please do that. We're going to do some questions first of all, I had to put a picture of M Bison because someone had replied to us for question number 2 there, and it just reminded me of many kind of a badly spent time younger playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo constantly and losing,
Badly.
and only being able to win by doing E Honda with a sort of constant
yeah, that's
sort of thing. Love that. That didn't make any sense if you're on audio, but yeah, love that game. Who doesn't, right? So I think we'll start with this one, which is a bit of an overall question, a kind of approach in this week, really, which is the best way to approach 5 free transfer. I know that there's no kind of overall umbrella answer to this question, but it's just a good kind of lead in that we can all talk through about our approach to the 5 free transfers this week. So this is from FPL Slimeball. Attack and take punts or just fix problem spots and think long term? Because Danny and I have been talking about this for a few weeks. I'm probably guilty, if anything, of maybe missing some opportunities here because I've only really been thinking long term throughout this process, and now that it's actually come along, I did think I was going to be rerouting the whole team, and there are some problems, but in my case I'm probably just going to fix the issues this week, actually, which is to say I've got one major minutes risk, which is Mateta. I don't like that. I've already done that move to Thiago, which is a pretty obvious one, and I have one goalkeeper that plays, and he's called Dubravka. So as you can probably tell, that is a problem that needs fixing. But I have to say that one of the reasons why, and I'll hand over to you guys in a minute, but my reasoning for maybe holding back on some of the other spots is just there are a lot of questions that I still have and a lot of things that look a little bit better in 17 and 18. So, for example, it would be very good for me in a current situation to maybe pivot to a kind of 4-4-2. And, Munoz's not available. necessarily at the moment. That's a bit of a difficult one to judge. You got O'Reilly. Okay, you could go there this week, but you don't have to. Everton defenders I quite like as well for the long term, and again, they're not great until 18. Senesi has a decent fixture, 17, etc., etc. So there are some reasons to maybe just have a think before you mash buttons and buy Harry Wilson by accident. That's kind of my thought on that. But I don't know, Alon. How are you? Where's your head at going into this? Because it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you've got a delayed week, haven't you, where you still have 5 transfers in 17. So I guess your perspective here is pretty interesting. Is it irrelevant to you, or do you have a kind of meta think?
I mean, I think that my approach actually is sort of like, it makes sense with what my answer to this would probably be, which is the most powerful position you could possibly have in FPL is to have as many resources as possible while having a good team, right? Like that's the ideal FPL team. If you could wildcard a team right now, would be, you know, the best 11 with good playing bench options and 5 frees. That's the best possible. So working backwards from that, how can you get to that really? So I'm not saying rip all 5 frees, because, you know, there's probably picks in your team who you might hate, but they're good picks, like Lacroix for you, Danny, or whatever. You know, there's endless amounts. That's what FPL is like accepting that your players are fine even when they're pissing you off. But really, I think you want to just use transfers in positions where you feel like it's absolutely vital, like guys are not playing anymore or guys are injured, and the AFCON guys are still playing this week. So, you know, you probably don't have to use, you know, the 3 that you're planning for AFCON or whatever. And you want to plan and you want to just roll as much as you can, right? I mean, I feel like you want to basically go as long as you can with as many frees as you can, while not losing a large amount of points to the field, right? So it's some balance of that. I don't know. Is that super vague or helpful? I don't know.
No, not at all. I mean,
yeah,
I completely agree. I'm just like, what is a punt? What is a punt? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it means that the question kind of leans us towards this idea that. So I saw someone earlier. Let's just actually walk through this scenario. Someone had a kind of midfield spot where they were thinking, okay, well, I can do I don't know, Harry Wilson this week and then Semenyo next week because he's got Burnley, and then pivot to, I don't know, a Liverpool midfielder for a game week 8, something along those lines, to kind of really, so they can maintain maybe 4 or 5 transfers but just use 1 per week on a kind of punt spot in midfield. I think that's the kind of thing that some people were thinking, and then there are other people here who might be taking a little bit more of a risk by going into another position, like the Bowen one, for example. It's probably not a good example here, but the first one where there's a midfield punt spot, I think that's the kind of thing that we're talking about.
It's just an interesting sort of almost philosophical question, isn't it? Like, I'm just like, and not philosophical, but I mean, in an FPL sense, like, people have talked about punts for years, and I think it's important for anyone who's asking about a punt for them themselves to define what that means, because I don't take punts. So that word isn't like in my vocabulary. And again, not to sound like arrogant or anything. I'm not trying to sound like that. I'm just trying to explain like my process. Like, so I don't use that word ever, because I'm not remotely interested, because that suggests to me like some sort of wild guess of like that's not grounded in anything that I actually believe in. So like, we'll stick with that word. But, you know, for example, somebody might have called from the outside my move for Foden, for example, like a week ago, a punt, because to people watching, maybe they thought, well, what's changed? Like, why are you getting Foden? That's insane, or whatever. And that's fine. And I'm not saying I was right, and it's easy to say in hindsight that's not what it is. It's nothing about the outcome. To me, it wasn't a punt because it was combined entirely or grounded entirely something that I believed in. Like, I still believed in him as a player long term, and it was also grounded in his minutes, for example. So again, so like, is that no longer a punt? I don't. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't really know what that means in that sense, because his minutes were there. So I hate overusing that term, you know, in this sort of concept about minutes, but that's really important, because I think you can pick players that you believe in that are low owned, but you really have to believe in them, and they do have to be pretty solid minutes wise, because otherwise I just think it's like anything else, you're just going to get yourself into trouble. I mean, like Alon says, you buy 2 players that you consider punts that you just a random, I don't know, say it's just randomly like Isak or randomly Palmer, or I mean, those things could be fine if you fully believe in, and we'll talk about why they could be right, those 2 individuals. But if you're just sort of picking players who historically have been good, or they can be good, or I don't know, it's more likely than not that at least one of them, if not both of them, are going to be problems or not going to be great. And then that's 2 transfers in and 2 transfers out, and before you know it, that's 4. Just 2 players is basically 4 transfers. Is really, really how you should probably see it, especially if it's not someone that you believe you're actually bringing in for the whole season. So. Yeah. That's quickly into trouble territory. I mean, it's so easy. I know we're spoiled at the moment with 5 free transfers, but it's so easy to get into trouble territory, as we know. I mean, how many times have we had 2, 3, 4 transfers and used them, and then the next week been like, oh my God, I wish I had 4 transfers again now. Like, it's crazy how fast it can change. And of course, combined with that, it's also, we are still ridiculously early in the season. And so the most powerful thing with the 5 transfers is not necessarily punts or sort of short-term points. The strength is in acknowledging how early you are into the season and building a framework that should take you through for 10 weeks, 12 weeks, which as Alon said, is just a sort of a more convoluted way of saying, like, still make long-term moves, still minimize transfers and roll where you can. I mean, for me, the 5 transfers is more about an opportunity for a structural change, and really, with obviously some individuals thrown in there in that potential structure change. Like we'll come back to Alan's team later, but when I glance at his team, I actually think that structurally it's already quite nice with Saka in there and Thiago and Haaland and Arsenal defence. It doesn't actually require much change anyway.
Yeah,
because of that structure. So yeah, I'd like people to elaborate more on what they mean by punts. That's going to be quite interesting in future. But there are still lots. Sorry, Alan. Just last thing I'll say is there are lots of interesting players though that we'll talk about. And you mentioned Bowen, Rich, and that is an interesting pick because he could be really good. He could be really solid. So is that a punt? I don't think that's a punt. I think it could be a good pick. Depends what the alternatives are as well. But yeah, sorry, Alan, go on.
No, I was just going to sort of try and define it, at least how I understand it, which would be sort of, I think the easiest way to conceptualize it is just thinking of the people who use FPL review or whatever model they like using. Is there someone who, if you manually adjusted their X-mins, they would be a top 5 player, right? And by manually adjusting, you're basically saying, I believe, Anthony Gordon's going to play 90 in the next 4 games or something. And it's oh, well, he's an incredible pick then. And he's on pens and you should have him, and that's what I think of a punt. Like when I punted earlier in the season on Rich and Foden, which at the time, those were complete punts. Neither player was nailed. And I was just trying to find a hat trick sort of in really good fixtures. That's kind of how I went into it, was I think, I'm like a weatherman, I'm the pressure's right. The wind is moving in from the southeast. I'm here we go. Everything's aligning that I think they'll start these next 3 or 4 games. And if they do, I might get a lot of points. That's what I think of a punt.
This is why I mentioned Harry Wilson, right? Because he's a good example of that. We know that, shot volume is good. He can score from kind of anywhere. He's one of those odd players. But from one week to the next, you wouldn't be surprised if you check the app on your phone and he's off at sort of 57 minutes or 65 minutes, and the next game he plays 90. And it could easily be the one where he's played 55 minutes where he scores twice, and the other one he doesn't do anything. He's one of those kind of players, isn't it? Where it's very, very difficult to predict. I'm told that there are other Fulham players out at the moment, and that kind of adds a little bit of weight to it. But just to come back to Danny's point a bit, basically, I don't know whether this is a watertight rule in my head, but I very rarely ever want to pick anyone where, if things go wrong, I'm not relatively happy just to see them in there for multiple months. So take, for example, I don't know, buying an Everton defender or something like that, it's absolutely fine, isn't it? Because you know you'll be relatively happy kind of leaving them in there relatively long term, or buying a Bowen, as you say, as opposed to a Wilson. Bowen, you know, is going to be playing 90 minutes throughout Christmas and beyond. So you've always got that to hang your hat on, if nothing else. So, I mean, if anything, it's kind of Mateta who's now become the punt, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen there. All we can go on recently is that, he's being dragged off early, right? So that feels like a pretty easy one. I think a lot of people are doing that this week.
Yeah, it is interesting because, and you're right, Alon. It's a good way to think about it. And I guess it still comes back to like, it's a perspective thing, isn't it? Because you can have objective punts, and you can have you can be objective or subjective, and that's kind of a perspective thing. So to think of an example again, like I guess sticking with Foden, or could think about O'Reilly or something like that, especially O'Reilly because the minutes are less certain. That's objectively a punt, for want of a better word. That's a kind of, you are making, so punt is essentially you are making a bet. That's what a punt is. It's a bet. You are making a bet, and it's about what risk is involved in that bet. But the amount of risk it is or should be kind of subjective to you as well. It's an interesting balance, isn't it? Because again, so Foden, for example, when nobody was really buying him, that objectively looked like a punt to people, whereas I didn't necessarily view it objectively too much of a punt, but obviously it was a subjective decision. I mean, you can play chess and you can make kind of suboptimal moves, or you can make punty moves. You can make moves that change the shape of the game, or make it more aggressive, or a move that might not be expected, but it's still calculated. It's still based on how you approach the game and what you want to kind of do with certain picks. So it should always be still with the goal ultimately of like problem solving towards trying to win. So my subjective punts are a function of me problem solving to try and win the game. So then therefore that is objective, that I'm objectively just trying to win the game. So see what I'm saying? It's kind of probably didn't make any sense. But
there's just all these different, I think what we're discovering is all these different shades of punts.
Yeah.
Right? Like I wouldn't say Harry Wilson and O'Reilly are the same at all, right? Like Harry Wilson's going to start every game. Like I have no doubt in my mind he'll start every game. The reason Harry Wilson's a punt is because we have 5 seasons of him being not a good pick, right? He's never been a good pick ever in his entire career as a footballer, except maybe in fantasy championship at whatever it's called, Gaffer or whatever. That's the only time he's ever been good. Right. And that's why he's a punt. It's like, can it continue? Are you seeing something different from him? Has his role changed or his underlyings? You would have to see all those indicators to make it feel not like a punt, which is very different from saying, it's hard to just come up with examples. I think Isak will start the next however many games. That's a much different kind of punt, because if you nail it and he does start those games, we have a lot of historical data that he's one of the best strikers in the world. It'll probably work. He'll probably get points, right? And it's just the minutes that are the only thing holding him back as a pick. So there's exactly a lot of different ones. Yeah.
And just on that, because it is interesting to think about, and it's an interesting discussion. For me, because there are different types of punts, just like we've just said. And so for me, the sort of punts, the ones that I like, are the more robust ones. And I mean robust in terms of, for example, minutes. So what is the punt? And, so Harry Wilson, he probably will start, and he'll start while the other guys are at AFCON and stuff. But obviously that's a much less robust punt for a number of reasons. A, because of history, like you say, and injury, and just subbing early, and the type of player and person that he is. And so it's just like the minutes conversation we've had in the past in terms of like how many, I think I was talking to you, Alon, on your pod, saying it was like playing cards and stuff, and you're going to need aces. Well, if a different sort of punt, for example, you could compare, say, Harry Wilson with a Szoboszlai,
right,
as punts. Nobody's on them, but one of those guys, for example, to think, because I'm trying to think of someone with really good minutes. One of those guys, how badly is that going to go? Really, it shouldn't go so badly, because he's going to play every minute of every game. That's massive. That gives you a huge backdrop. That's what I always think about punts: is what's the fallback, what's the cushion, like how badly can it go? Typically for me, things are much more likely to go wrong and potentially catastrophically wrong when you're playing around with punts or bets, when you really don't know the minutes or the robustness of those minutes or the fitness of that player and how long it'll last. That feels so much more shaky to me because it really is a forced transfer down the line. So again, that's why I think of Szoboszlai. I think of a Bowen. Like Bowen's a lovely idea of a punt to me because I'm like, well, I've got nothing wrong with. I've got no problem with that. If you see something subjectively in that player and that pick, because we know he's a 90-minute man and he's a talisman sort of thing. So it's like
it's all semantics because to me, Bowen is the antithesis of a punt. He's 90 every game. He's the best player on the team. He's the talisman. I'm just like, what's the punt there? You know, you're just with Bowen, you're trying to take advantage of a pretty good run of fixtures, except for away City, right? And that's so different from like a Harry Wilson, where you're just anytime the board goes up and it's his number, you're just like, why the fuck did I bring in Harry goddamn Wilson? You know, you're thinking, oh, Fulham have these great fixtures. Well, they're not great if he's subbed off. Right? They're no longer great. They're bad. They're the worst kind of fixtures. So that's a very different proposition. Yeah.
Just going to intervene here and say that, Danny, when you are doing the thumbnails later, if you're a bit sort of tired or pissed or whatever it is, then please don't accidentally kind of label the last half an hour Harry Wilson, because there is a good chance a player that we've never mentioned before in a whole year of the pod or something has been mentioned about 30 times in the last half an hour as an example. So no more of him. Noted. Good luck to you if you pick him. Sorry.
Yeah, noted. Yeah, noted.
Okay, good. Yes, actually, I mean, Eno, the absolute king of punts, is in the chat, and he's looking at something for game week 16 with Dango and Trossard. I mean, I have to say, if Dango wasn't going away,
love him.
I think I'd actually be quite keen on bringing him in. Actually, I think he'd be quite an interesting one. But yeah, we'll come back to Szoboszlai because I do want to talk about him a bit more. Just a couple of more sort of player-related queries, like everyone this week. So this M. Bison, who you can see the image of on the screen, it gave me the opportunity to kind of revel in thinking about Street Fighter 2 Turbo back in the day. Everyone this week, I have to use or lose a transfer. So presumably his team is amazing. So he only needs, he's absolutely fine with it and got 5 transfers now. Who should go out of Mateta, Semenyo, or Van Dijk? So this is a kind of particular question. I mean, for me, this one is actually quite straightforward. It would 100% be Mateta because I think ultimately the other two, they both are fit and playing 90 minutes and don't seem to be struggling against a scheduling issue or anything like that. So I don't think this is particularly challenging this week. I think that is pretty much I mean, even if you don't go Thiago and you did go to a player like Bowen, that's absolutely fine. But I think that seems like an obvious one to kind of deal with there. How do you feel about that one, Danny? Is that where you would lean?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm pretty sure the word yeet was created solely for the existence of Jean-Philippe Mateta in people's FPL teams because I have most certainly yeeted him out of my team last week. God, I don't like owning Mateta at all. I really don't like him. He's just streaky. He's unpredictable in the way he plays the game, and his minutes are terrible. The manager's terrible for minutes. The manager just ruthlessly pulls people after 60 minutes all the time. We don't know why. Why is that? Is it just, can he just never play longer than 60 minutes? But I can't stand players that come off at 60 minutes. And Mateta, and he's not a great finisher. I mean, even the penalty, for God's sake, he couldn't even kick it once.
Sort of scuffed into the corner, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, Christ's sake. So I just really don't. It would have really. I thought he was going to score this weekend for sure. Now that I've taken him out, the game just gone, and he probably should have had a penalty, shouldn't he? But yeah, I don't like Mateta. I don't like the minutes, and he looks tired. And we've said about Palace loads of times. Palace just look tired. So they're a great team. They're a great team despite the fact that they're all shattered and they've got no squad to kind of rotate around. So I don't like it, and I prefer other picks. I mean, we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about everyone, but Thiago, again, watching the highlights today, I was actually I only saw much of the day today, and I was actually quite pleased with Thiago from what I saw, because Brentford were bad and, Spurs were better and all that sort of stuff. And all I'd heard was just how terrible Brentford were and they had nothing. But the little thing that they had was Thiago. You know, he looks like he's on it. He does look confident, looks sharp, he looks fit. It's 90 minutes. He's the one who's going to get big chances. So I was actually quite pleased. I think it was because I went in watching that game expecting it to be utterly diabolical. So maybe it's just from the expectation point of view. But yeah,
well, I mean, just
to say before coming back to me, Rich. Sorry, like Semenyo, it's quite nice, isn't it? I mean, Semenyo looked really good on the weekend. He's got United next, which is going to be probably an open fixture, but then they've got Burnley at home, which is quite nice at the moment. With these 5 free transfers, it's kind of moving things around. And like you said, you mentioned Everton in a few weeks and this kind of thing, and Liverpool in a couple of weeks. This links to that conversation about the 5 free transfers and what we do with it is how do we piece it together such that we're actually maximising some of these nice fixtures with nice players. And Semenyo is one of them where it's nice to hold right now because he still looks really good. How he didn't score on the weekend, I don't know. But that Burnley at home is a prime fixture, and then the fixtures get really bad after that. And Van Dijk, well, like I say, like with Van Dijk, it's not going to be popular, so I'm not going to talk too much about like Van Dijk and stuff. People don't like the pick, but the fixtures, whatever it is, it's like Wolves at home and then Leeds at home or something, and then it's like someone terrible, and then it's Burnley at home. So there are 3 incredible fixtures there coming up for Van Dijk. Again, if you can kind of maneuver it, and they've got Spurs at home in there, which, to be fair, is a pretty good clean sheet fixture as well. You know what I mean? So, and again, this is a guy he's still defconning all the time. He's still getting good chances. So, I quite like it. Whereas Mateta is just 60 minutes every game, and you don't know what's going on. So yeah, sorry, Rich, go on.
No, all I was going to say is, well, I was just going to relay it back to kind of my own situation for a minute. Is that actually the Van Dijk situation as it is one of the reasons why I don't think I will end up doing any kind of defender moves this week, because there are still quite a few kind of permutations. So for example, if I take out the obvious players that are definitely going to stay, Anderson and Timber, right? No one's going to be moving them on anytime soon if they have them. But the other spots are kind of Rodon, Senesi, and Van Dijk, and a lot of people would have these, right? And there's lots of reasons to hold all of them, and there's lots of reasons to get rid of them. But this is not. It doesn't feel instinctively like a week unless you don't have an Arsenal defender to bring many of these players kind of in. So, for example, if you hold Senesi, then you're definitely playing him the next week, right? Because he's got Burnley at home. Van Dijk, as you say, still has those fixtures. I think I'd probably only hold him if I pivot to a 4-4-2. And there's actually so many defenders as opposed to anyone else that I could afford because I've got cheap midfielders. So you could arguably get rid of Rodon and have a souped-up defense. So it's a really difficult week for this. So I'm probably going to sit on my hands and trying to work it out the week after. But I won't pretend that Van Dijk feels like it's going to be clean this week either, to be honest with you.
No. The one thing I do like about Van Dijk as well, though, on top of all that, what I've just said, is the price point. Again, in terms of saving transfers and keeping a structure. When we think about Munoz and how much we might want him, and when we especially think about Gabriel, who for all we know could be back in a couple of weeks or Christmas time. A lot of people are on Timber and stuff and don't necessarily want to. It's quite a nice option with Van Dijk. You've got the fixtures there and the defcons, but you're always only one transfer away from getting someone really nice. So yeah,
I mean, I feel like this is a hot take now that I'm sitting here listening, but is none of the above an option here? I mean, I'm not saying that Mateta's better than Thiago or better than Bowen or VVD's better than an Arsenal defender. I wouldn't say any of those things, but this is the exact, and maybe this is just my own trauma and fear, and it's clouding my judgment, but this is the exact type of transfer that I would have made earlier this season. And then we look back 5 games from now, I'm like, why did I get rid of Mateta again? Who's nailed to start on pens. The 60-minute thing is annoying, but he sometimes plays 90, and they have 2 really easy Conference League games coming up. Maybe he'll rest in those, and he'll just get a normal week's rest and stay, and he's still really good, and the team is still really good, and they have away Leeds, home Spurs, home Fulham. I'm like, no, man, I don't know, Like, I like Thiago better, especially if you're using it to, say, fund an Arsenal defender or fund Saka or Bruno or something like that to go Mateta to Thiago. But I'm not, like, thrilled, like, oh my god, definitely get rid of this guy. He's 100% a transfer out. So I don't know. Find some other way to use it, I think, or just sit on 5. No problem sitting on 5.
Yeah, so Danny's yeeting him, whereas you're sort
Yeah.
of politely eschewing him to the door, but you'll thank him on
It's
the
like
way
one of
out.
those things. He's going down my internal rankings list of forwards, right? Every week he drops a peg down the list, but he's still 4th. He's gone down from like 2nd to 4th or 5th. And so how much are you gaining going, Mateta to Bowen? Bowen who doesn't even have pens. Mateta to Thiago. Yeah, he's better, and he's certainly better value. He's $1 million cheaper, but just looking at Palace are 4th. They're good. They're a good attacking team. He gets a big chance every game, even though he's been ice cold lately, and his finishing has been really bad this season. It wasn't bad the last 2 seasons,
Just to say, it's hard to believe that Crystal Palace don't have a player who's better at penalties than Mateta.
Well, it used to be him and Eze, and they were both bad.
It's purely a personality thing, right? No one wants to get slapped by Mateta on the way down the tunnel at the end of the game, because he's probably going to knock most people out type thing. There's got to be someone in there. There's probably I bet someone like Kamada is surprisingly good at penalties, but just does not have the personality to stand up for it.
Warden is going to take a pen for England at some point, and it's just going to be like a Harry Maguire moment, like, oh my god, it's the best penalty I've ever seen.
Yeah, Lacroix, man, give him to Lacroix. That's what I say.
There you go. Fucking he takes a pen, and he's gonna take a pen and my head's gonna explode.
Oh my god, yeah. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine if Chris Richards steps up just to annoy you, Danny?
Oh my god. Don't. No, but yeah, I mean, last thing we'll say. I like the premise, Alon. And it's I can see the argument. It's just, for me personally, it's just the minutes thing. Like the 60-minute thing is too much. I mean, it's just, for me, I don't think there's anything worse for me in FPL than having your attacker come off in 60 minutes when there's effectively 40 minutes of football left, and you then have to watch everybody else. It turns into not just the annoyance of having 1 point or 2 points yourself, but from the double annoyance of knowing that other people have got people on the pitch that are playing 90 minutes that are then going to continue to get the points. It's too much for me, minutes wise.
Yeah.
We'll just do the other 2 kind of player related questions here, and then we'll kind of move on, because we do want to look at free hit and that sort of thing. But
this was your question at the end, wasn't it, Rich? Really, was it?
Well, no, Mikey's in the same sort of situation as me, but we will come on to that. I told him that we'd give at least half an hour to goalkeepers just for Alon's benefit, because I know how much he loves
Walsh.
I kind of feel like we've touched on Bowen a bit, so we don't need to spend too long on this. But I think I should probably do my fan piece. I don't mind it more than I didn't mind it last time, where I was quite down on West Ham the last time they'd been sort of raised, which is maybe, I don't know when, it's probably towards the end of Potter or early Nuno or something like that. But generally we look a bit more robust, so that people still thinking that we concede a lot from set pieces, for example, really interests me, because the evidence since Nuno isn't there for that. The data is still terrible, but trust me, it's from the pre-Nuno period. So even though we're still really high up, set piece conceded and all that kind of stuff, it is better. It is better than that now. So if you're targeting West Ham for that, it's just like a regular side now, as opposed to anything else. But yeah, they do look a little bit more robust. Bowen, I won't pretend he's kind of like the figurehead or the talisman in quite the way maybe he had been previously, but he's still the best pick, no doubt about that. And the fixtures I think it's from 18, isn't it? And his price has gone down, presumably. I don't know how far.
Yeah.
Maybe he's more like 7.5 now.
Yeah.
So I think that is a reasonable shout. I don't hate that at all. I think that's one of the reasons why I actually prefer kind of sitting on my hands with some of the transfers and just kind of looking at 17, 18 and having 3 or 4 for then as well, and doing something then, because there are opportunities like that and Everton and that sort of thing. Anything you want to, either of you want to add on Bowen, or are we happy to go to our long segment on goalkeepers?
Bowen's one of the only things I got right on my wild card. I'm just such a believer in Bowen. I mean, it's you got to plug your nose because, excuse me, Richie, West Ham suck, but you know
How dare you?
his goals are worth 7 points. I mean, find another player whose goals are worth 7 points and just get him in your team. He's the main man. He's so good. He's so consistent, and he scores 1 goal and gets 9 points. And it's like he has DEFCONs built into his goals. You know, he's just a rocket ship. He has, I mentioned it on our pod yesterday, he has 6 attacking returns and 12 bonus points. He averages 2 bonus points per attacking return. It's insane. You know, like that is incredible. And yeah, he's just been doing it forever. You know, he's had a couple of down-ish seasons of 141 and 145 points. That's his floor. And then he's had 3 seasons of 182, 193, and 206. I mean, he's going to finish around 180 probably. And he's 7'5", and he's 90 every single game. He doesn't have Europe. He doesn't have another competition. Great pick. You know, like just don't watch the games. And, you know, forget that he's even in your team, just, you know, because he'll blank 3 times in a row. That'll happen. But then sometimes you'll look and he'll just have 9 points. And you're like, oh, yeah, great pick. Good job.
Whatever one thinks, it is lovely to own those kind of players where you know that in terms of bonus, there's just not much competition. There just isn't, because they never, we pretty much never going to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, and
so you don't need to worry about
that. Pass, you know, there's not many other attackers, you know, there's not much competition there, and it's there's got to be some word for this. I think, you know, other people have probably made up a better word for saying this, but if you got a goal alert, like if someone in our Discord said West Ham goal, what are you thinking? Like it's Bowen every time. It's like Chris Wood of years past. It's Bowen every single time. You know, if there's a West Ham goal, it's just he's involved. Assist or goal for sure. And yeah, that's pretty good.
Maybe part of your reset, Alon, needs to be to get back on Bowen and just reset.
Oh my god, I got
do it.
I need a hard reset. Yeah.
Honestly, like I do really like it. It's just you just click on him. I don't want to repeat the things because I was going to say the same thing, Alon. But you know, because I'm just clicking on him now and just having a look, and sometimes you just get a feel, and it feels so comfortable because you can see the robustness just by looking down his points. You know, that obviously there were no ones in there for the entire season, obviously, because he's just so robust.
Yeah.
So all you see is you do see the 2s because they went through a bad patch. Like you say, every time there's a goal, it's a 9 points, 2s and 9s. I mean, that's a huge difference, like you say, isn't it? That's that Chris Wood type thing. But you know, the thing to combine with that is it is really important for me to think about that sort of feel good kind of where are the team at in terms of momentum and stuff, and what's going on with the team. And we know they've kind of struggled, and then they went through a terrible patch, and they've got a new manager, and the manager's good. And yeah, we don't know. Again, that is a bit of a punt where we don't know that that's going to sort of continue, that the manager's going to continue to be good or continue to get things out of players. But we can see a trajectory at the moment where it feels good, and they've got these sort of young midfielders that are getting minutes, playing very well. Mateta is playing very well. And obviously Bowen is playing very well. Well, you say that, sorry, you know more than me, Rich, but you know, Paqueta is Paqueta, and like he's not been playing terribly, and he can do, you know, magic things and stuff. It's a feel good thing. And you know, you see that, and again, you look back on it and you're like, okay, so, you know, Man United away, you know, didn't lose, 1-1, good performance. Brighton, they were the better team away. Brighton, I thought I watched most of that game. West Ham impressed me. And he gets 9 points there. So there's suddenly trajectory where it feels, so you've got robustness times trajectory / team / manager / feel. And then you've got Villa at home, and then City away is bad. Then you go into Fulham at home, Brighton at home, Wolves away, Forest at home, Spurs away, Sunderland at home, then Chelsea, then Burnley. I mean, it's incredible. So that is so solid in terms of just having someone in there, again, who nobody owns. And again, when you say nobody owns, it's even less likely people are going to go there, because again, it's a structural thing. People are going to come out of this week and next week, and they're in 3-5-2s, they're in 4-4-2s, and they're not selling Thiago and they're not selling Haaland. So Bowen's one of those really nice ones where even if he scores 2-3 in a row, still people won't be going there.
Yeah. And not only that, people, and I count myself amongst this number, people are pretty reticent to sell Gui, aren't they? Really, it's such a it's that handy 4.2 dead spot. Don't want to ever do anything with it. Midfielders generally are better and all that kind of stuff. It's quite hard to persuade yourself. But this is another reason why, like I said, I want to try and stack up to make sure that I have 3 or 4 in 17, in 18 as well, because I see these things and I think there is a bit of an opportunity there. Whereas I don't know, a lot. I don't know whether either of you have this feeling, but I kind of get the impression that people are doing moves. I'm not saying my team's amazing, but they're doing broadly moves just to become my team. You know, already have Saka, already have
Bruno.
Well, now have Thiago and like Foden and all the rest of it. So there's not an awful lot to kind of it's already in place in that respect. I have to do this one then, of course. I need a Pope replacement. Who are the best picks? Named Raya. This has come in from our viewer FPL. Mikey. Thank you. Delivery wasn't great there, was it? But I mean, yeah, there are a few people in this position, and actually, I've had feel free to pop up. Alon's nipped off to the bathroom just when I'm talking about goalkeepers. You unbelievable. But yeah, Danny, I'll just paint this picture for you because I am genuinely interested in notes on this because it is quite a tricky decision in some ways. It doesn't really affect anything else in the squad, so it's kind of a decision in the vacuum, really. But I've been watching all of these other. A lot of people are pivoting last week or this week to a cheap keeper, something like a Verbruggen, something like a Kelleher. And I'll be honest, I know that they both have, on the whole, largely very good fixtures. I don't know whether I'm terribly comfortable picking either of these kind of players myself. But at the same time, as Mikey's kind of hinting about Raya, 6 million now is very difficult. I mean, like, he's undoubtedly the biggest upgrade I could possibly make this week in probably any position would be to buy Raya. So it's one of those things that, you know, because it would be going from Pope, who doesn't play at the moment, and obviously it would be over Dubravka, and Arsenal have a sort of as close to a guaranteed clean sheet as you could get. But so far, there's so many names for this, and as Alon will say, who cares? They're all the same anyway. I've noticed that lack of commitment there, Alon, going to the bathroom during the goalkeeper chat. I'm going to come to you in a minute. But you know, but there are lots of kind of options that are difficult to gauge between. I mean, I think the algorithms, for example, have goalkeepers so close over a period of time, it really doesn't make much. I think the 2 or 3 names that, by digging into things, really surprised me. So I'll be interested in your opinion. So, actually, so the highest kind of points per game for keepers, etc. I'd be interested to see whether you could kind of guess the names that come up as being right at the top of that list. If we you can kind of take Raya as red, really, that he's in and amongst them, but the others,
Rofs, right? He's been on top all season, right? The Sunderland keeper.
He's done well. Yeah, hasn't had a clean sheet for quite a while, as you can imagine, but they have had difficult fixtures. But if they do well, he does well. There's no doubt about that. So he does pretty well.
Yeah, he had a couple like 10-pointers, I think.
Danny, any thoughts? Any names jump out at the sort of high performers?
Well, you'd think Pickford's got to be up there.
Pickford does very well.
Henderson and Pickford and Rofs and
Donnarumma, right? Diamond City keep cleans, right?
Donnarumma has been pretty terrible, actually.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, not only that, I think he's got 4 yellow cards, which is amazing for a goalkeeper. As much as anything else. So, as a few of the chat,
Bob Sanchez gets 10 points every other week. I feel like.
Well, so I'll just go through a few of these names then. The one that I was going to just call out that no one really owns but has done really well, especially points per game, is Emi Martinez, because actually, I think so. 12 starts, he's conceded 9 goals, which is pretty impressive. He's only conceded 2 once, which was to Liverpool, so he's been in every game other than that. Obviously, we know he can pick up He's one of the better keepers for bonus. I think he's got maybe 6 bonus points, which is quite unusual for a keeper. There aren't many To be honest with you, the easiest thing has been looking up and down the list of keepers is trying to work out anyone who can actually pick up any kind of bonus and extra points, etc. And there are so few. So Emi Martinez is one. Pickford is another one that's really good. So those two names stand out. And of course, from a value point of view, yeah, Bob Sanchez is an interesting one because, again, they're always going to be in and around with a chance of a clean sheet, but he broadly does only get 6, etc. He does occasionally get a bit more, but he's still 4.8 for a Chelsea keeper, which is pretty remarkable, right? So when we talk about Sells being good in that bracket, maybe, I mean, he's only a penny less, so to speak. And you've got players like Verbruggen and as I say, Kelleher, they're not much cheaper, really. So is it really worth going down to this kind of bargain basement to get someone like a Kelleher, for example? He barely scraped any bonus by getting a penalty save. He's that bad. So anyway, so yeah, Martinez, Pickford and Sanchez are the ones that kind of impressed me on my kind of little deep dive, but I'll make a decision. Henderson has been mentioned in the chat as well. He is good. It's and I don't own a Palace defender, so it's just a tricky one, isn't it? Because you do want those defenders, but
yeah, he'll
anyway,
never outbone the Palace defenders are so good on bonus.
Yeah,
so
he's never going to outbone. Outbone is a phrase that I want to use that.
Yeah. That's what you would have to do. You'd have to go team by team. I'm not even joking, and see which keeper is better on like whatever it is, baseline bonus, whatever, than the defenders. And then like that's like the first bit of narrowing down, maybe, if you're trying to find the ideal keeper. And then take it from there in terms of, how is the defense? What's their prospects for clean sheets? Like how many, whatever.
This
That's
is
what I
why
would do.
Pope was a good pick in the first place, and unfortunately has been a wreck. But yeah, Pickford and Martinez come out well for what you're describing, Alon. But Danny, what are your thoughts on keepers? Any? I mean, could you justify going high or low here, or do you like the ones in the middle?
I'm probably not very good with keepers, I don't think, historically, and it's not something I find particularly interesting to think about because I like to make decisions and then put them away. And obviously with keepers, that's the epitome of making a decision then putting it away. So you either get it right or wrong, and I don't tend to move it around or try and correct it or make transfers there rightly or wrongly. I think I tend to start in a different place to Alon. I agree with what you're saying. It's definitely a good point. That would be maybe a later stage in my decision. Like broadly, the first thing I do is just think holistically, like about the teams and what do I think that team is. That's the most important for me, and that's why, like, rightly or wrongly, for example, because you mentioned Verbruggen and a lot of people have bought him. I didn't realize how many people had bought Verbruggen last week. I know we were talking I was talking to Baker and Baker, and I didn't realize that Baker and LR and Zoff had all brought Verbruggen in. I was like, what? I had no idea.
What?
Yeah, and we're all chatting, and I was talking about how I thought West Ham should have scored on Sunday, and didn't realize they all owned Verbruggen. They're all really pissed off, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I had no idea that you all really own this guy.
He's a really bad pick.
I mean, the reason why it would never jump out to me is because I always start with that point, like, what are the team? Like, what do they do? What is their identity? And obviously with Brighton, I don't know what their identity is, and I just find them so random, and I don't know if and when they're ever going to clean, which I understand that it balances out over the season. So that's what I'm saying, rightly or wrongly. I'm not saying I'm right there at all, because I think he probably is. Maybe he's good for baseline bonus or whatever it is for those reasons. I know I heard him mention something like that. But I just like to know what I'm getting, and therefore, and then I align what I'm getting with the fixtures. So, you mentioned like Henderson. So because that would be, to take an example, I agree that Henderson's never going to outbone. But same with Raya. Like, we all think Raya's a great pick, but he gets no bonus at all. Or not, I guess, I don't know, a great pick, but even just a good pick, but gets no bonus at all. If we had Palace, I mean, what we know of Palace right now as a team, and we had them, say, without Europe, or say they had a bigger squad or something, and the players were actually reasonably fresh, then you'd put Henderson and Palace almost alongside Arsenal, wouldn't you? Because you're pretty much expecting, again, identity, almost similar number of cleans, not quite, but that's how good Palace defence is to me. And then Henderson, you do expect him to make more saves than Raya would. Just because, they just concede more shots. So then I'd sort of be thinking like that. So I sort of think that my first base is, where am I getting the clean sheet points? Do I get any save points? Then I might be thinking about bonus and what fixtures look like. And so I have a really narrow field when I think about keepers. I like your shout about Martinez, Rich, because I hadn't really thought about him. And then I just sort of click on him, and again, it's really rudimentary kind of approach. But you click on a keeper. I like to click on a keeper and see like how many 3s and 4s am I seeing. That's what I'm interested in. Is like not just 2s.
Agreed.
And obviously the odd 6s. And it's really nice. You click on Martinez, and straight away you just see 3, 7. Then he didn't play. Then 4, 14, 8. That I like that. Obviously with keepers again, pathetically rudimentary. But then you combine that. Then you go, okay, so I can see this guy is capable of saves and bonus. And then what does that team look like? And again with Villa, you like Emre, you like their trajectory. You like their sort of tactical approach to games. So that all those things are big ticks. I think with Pickford, I find quite difficult. I do like him because he gets lots of saves, but I sort of find a lot of Everton's clean sheets at the moment sort of inexplicable. I don't know why that is, but I always see Everton as a bit of like a 1-1 team. Like they're quite good in attack and quite good in defence. But then maybe I'm kind of doing them a disservice because they have been getting cleans. And he does, and they've got amazing fixtures coming up. So I've definitely been looking at Pickford, thinking, for that fixture run. So yeah, that's a long way of saying like I look at it really simply like that. So in my head, I've got Raya, best defense in the league, 6 points. Okay, good, happy to have him, but actually don't mind getting rid of him soon because it's never going to get me the spikes, and I might want another Arsenal pick. Pickford, I'm interested in. Martinez, I'm now more interested in because of what you mentioned, and now that I've looked at him, and what was the other one? That was it, really. I think. Oh, and Sanchez, I do like Sanchez as well because. Again, Chelsea, you hear this talk about, just the last one to say is, even just the interview with the manager at the weekend when he was like, what we say with the team is, if we're not going to, we're really focusing on, if we're not going to win a game, don't lose it. And they have been quite solid, really, in that sense. They've been more organised this season. And they've got these really clever players and good defensive players, and James and Cucurella and loads of centre-backs, although they've got lots injured and stuff. I do like that. I like Sanchez strikes me as one that strikes the balance between a team that is good at defending. He's quite cheap. And he's going to get some bonus and stuff. So for me, I don't know, like what's that, like 4 or 5 keepers? I don't think I'd look at anyone outside that.
I agree.
Yeah. I tell you what, just because, just for our good friend Mikey, I'm going to do a wire on you. Alon, give me your top 3. You're buying keepers from scratch.
Oh my god! I mean,
you don't have to think about it. Just
this is for Mikey, not for Rich. This is for Mikey, Alon. Honestly,
honestly,
not for Richie, who needs to buy a goalkeeper who owns Nick Pope.
Definitely not me. I've said my piece.
Raya's not in my top 3 only because I want 3 other Arsenal players.
Yeah.
So he deals with that problem. I'm still high on Sells. I know it hasn't been good. He's been racking up 2-pointers. Just look back at Dyche keepers in the last 8 years of data, and they're always good. They always get a ton of saves. They always get bonus. Their defenders just hoof it long. So I'll put Sells in there. I'll put Bob in there. I mean, if Walsh listens to this, he's going to throw up when he hears that. But I do think Chelsea are like equal-ish to second best defense in the league, probably. Like between like them, City, and Palace, it's probably close. And Bob is 4.8, which is just, I mean, he's 0.3 cheaper than Henderson, and they're not that much different. I think you could argue Chelsea's even a little bit better defensively. So I'll put him in there, and then I'll put Pickford's just always good. I'll just put Pickford in there. Yeah, he's always good.
Go on.
Yeah, Sells is worth a shout. So I'm glad you mentioned him. So we at least mentioned him. Because I agree. I guess you just want to see it a bit from.
Yeah, it would be nice
at the moment. But yeah, I think I'd just say Pickford, Martinez, and Sanchez, and I'm specifically answering the question because he did say not including Raya. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. It'll be one of those 3 for me anyway, for sure. Yeah. I mean, they've all got different kind of plus points. I think the thing I'm trying to wonder with Everton is just I am pretty keen on their defenders, whereas Villa is definitely not the case. It is Martinez or nobody. I see the advantages of him. But then, as you say, Bob is a kind of nice kind of plug-in at 4.8. So
I mean,
they're all good.
I get that you're keen on their defenders, and I am too. But you're never gonna have 3 Everton players, at least until maybe Ndiaye comes back. So to me, that doesn't matter. And this might be controversial, but this is how I've always dealt with keepers: is I just don't care what the fixtures are. I do
No,
not
I was going
care
to say,
at
actually,
all.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because this guy's going to be in your team until your second wild card, almost definitely, unless there's an injury. You're just going to hold them till game week 30, whatever the fuck, and then you're going to wild card and change it for the
And
last 7 game weeks of the season or whatever, So
Ev- E-
they play
Everton
everyone,
fixtures from 18 is so good. So yeah, it's a really nice kind of chance to have a look. Yeah, and yeah, no, they're good shouts. Well, that was very very helpful. I shall make some notes. We're gonna obviously, yeah, exactly. Ken, the Evertonian, he knows.
Keen.
Keen.
I
mean,
I've
that
been on.
guy
I had
is
Keen game
incredible.
week 1, man. I was there. We will be there.
I do like him because obviously, what is it? I think his last 5 games, he's def-gonned in 4 of them. And obviously, we know how much of a threat he is at set pieces. I mean, but trying to find out any updates on Branthwaite is almost impossible. I wonder
He's
whether
fucked. He's just fucked. I mean,
he's not. The earliest projected comeback date that I could find was at the end of January, right? So game week 24 is the soonest he could possibly be back, I think, from the looks of it. So it's maybe not worth worrying about. But
I say it all the time on our pod, probably, to the extent where it's annoying at this point. But the best predictor of muscle injuries are muscle injuries. And this guy and his groin and whatever's going on, he has not shown the ability to get over this. It just keeps coming back. He was supposed to be back, which is why I originally got rid of Keane. Then he got surgery, and now he's out for more months. In my head, he might not play this season. He's not a factor when I think about Michael Keane as a pick at all. If he eventually randomly appears on the bench 2 months from now, maybe you'll deal with it. But for now, it's just not a factor, I don't think.
Well, I have to say, like, maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but Senesi to an Everton defender in 18 does feel like such an easy move. If you have him, because sirens, the first of the evening. Hopefully, try and shield that. There we go.
Yeah, that's good.
This is a good opportunity to kind of move towards the free hit discussion. I mean, it says free hit best picks there from someone who has messaged a few times this week, FPL Grimes. So if you're a Simpsons fan, you may recognize him from 1 or 2 episodes of that. Very well done if you remember who that is. I might skip forward a bit here, Alon, and actually show kind of the team that you've kind of put together, because lots of people are interested in this. I think this was the second most popular free hit week in this kind of period of time. I've only got a triple captain left. I think Danny's used all the relevant sort of trips at this time. We'll come back for Mr. Late Riser's comment there a bit later on. Let's try and find this free hit. Where is it? There we go. So I know this is a sort of arse about face in terms of the order, but so yeah, interesting this week because of course, again, it's another week where there are bad teams with good fixtures and whatever. It's the classic kind of free hit week in that sense with Fulham and Brentford, etc. But yeah, do you want to tell us what your lineup is there, and then we'll kind of have a bit of a discussion about each position and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I put this together quickly after our pod last night, and I'll mess with it more throughout the week. There's still a chance I just don't even do it, but I think it's a good week for me. So what I did was up top, I did Isak, Thiago, and Jimenez, so no Holland. In midfield, I have Saka, Rice, trying to attack that home Wolves fixture, Dango, Bruno. I think Sobo would be on the bench in this team. And then in the back, and just a classic 3-4-3, it'd be Chalobah, Timber, and Anderson. And then keeper, I don't know. I just had Kelleher already, so I just left him in there. But it seems fine, Kelleher home lead. So it's triple Brentford home leads, triple Arsenal home Wolves, double Fulham at Burnley, jamming Isak in there, who I just saw because we're playing 20 minutes. I saw he's starting tonight for Liverpool. Bruno home Bournemouth. I think that'll be high scoring. Chelsea home Everton. I found it kind of hard to find clean sheets this week. When just like scanning through, Chelsea home Everton seems okay. But I don't feel like great about a lot of the others, so it's kind of the best I could do. I think you're looking at something like this. I mean, I definitely want your guys' opinion because, triple Arsenal is just so obvious, but going no Palace, no City when Palace hosts City, and then Liverpool hosting Brighton, which could be another 3-3 for all I know. I mean, that could be 5-5. Might just be bananas. And not really having any representation from that except Isak or Ekatike maybe. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, actually, this is really interesting because I immediately looked at this and thought I actually like it a lot more than I thought I was going to. If you know what I mean, for this week, there are some really interesting diversions that you could take there. Isak being an obvious one. I think in amongst it, it's a shame, isn't it, for you that you can't completely bank on Cole Palmer's minutes.
Apparently
that's
he
really
went
annoying.
straight down the tunnel, right? So yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
But maybe there'll be an update that's useful, something along the lines of someone like an Esteval minutes or something like that. Who knows?
He has Champions League, so we'll see a Chelsea lineup at least.
I mean, my initial thought there, the only thing that I would immediately look to change, I think you're going against City is perfectly viable, and that's the whole, in a way, the kind of point of the free hit is to go against City on the whole. I think Foden is maybe the only one I would be umming and ahhing about simply because of the form. 6 returns in 3, isn't it, or something like that? But I think the change that I would make structurally is, if I was kind of planning this personally, was that I would probably dump the Rice spot and put another Arsenal defender in there. If there's a strong chance that Ben White plays, then I'd be all over that. If not, then it's okay to go Raya.
Or Hincapi,
yeah. That's probably the change that I would make, just because I think there are other good midfield options, and you've already got 8 really good attackers there. So getting rid of one and stiffening up the defense maybe makes sense to me. But that's kind of my first thought. And
it was just trying to find the 5-0, and
yeah.
That's I think there's 8 good Arsenal picks this week. They're home Wolves, so you just got to pick where is it the most valuable sort of for the team. And you're probably right. It's probably better to just.
But this is kind of my point about like if we know that White plays, I mean whoever plays, that right back spot anyway.
Probably
it feels like the kind of fixture that could be. You could be lucky and get a 12-pointer there. I wouldn't be completely shocked by that. I would like chancing that. It's a real shame that Calafiori. I mean, I know you wouldn't have free hitted maybe, but this feels like the kind of fixture that he could have absolutely ruined.
Finally get his goal.
Because when Danny and I were on free hit the other week, I'd looked it up and I think it was only the day before or something, and I was like, Wolves have scored once away from home all season, and that still hasn't changed. And they can barely, obviously, score at home either. So, I mean, put it this way: I have Strand Larson in a draft team, and I thought that was quite a cute move, but no, it's been dreadful. Danny, what do you like?
Before you, Danny, I just looked up Chelsea play also in 20 minutes. Palmer not in the squad, so
right. I think they did. I think I did see something about that. I might be wrong, but I think he explained it. I think he said that was pre-planned as part of his return to playing. Okay. They weren't going to play, so I'm not sure, but I think I heard that.
Okay.
I do want to touch very quickly on Palmer. He's not FPL relevant at the moment, but because I was listening to FML earlier, and I have to say I do disagree with Walsh on Palmer in general.
We know. Yeah.
Okay. I just think I think the only thing Palmer hasn't had for like a year is he's been injured and he's been fitness. I think that's the only thing getting in the way really of Palmer being still just the best, like top 3 best FPL picks there is in the game. And I think he will, when he does get that fitness back, I think he will turn into that sort of output merchant again. And that's just who I think he is. But it is a real shame. I think there's emotional baggage there maybe for Walsh because he's had such a bad time with he always says that he's like screwed him over in his own team. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it is a shame because I was eyeing up 16 thinking, oh man, imagine if Palmer's had a few games under his belt in this week and no one's going to own him. And it is such a shame because we just don't know I think it's going to take him a while to get back to fitness, isn't it? But yeah, like I look at this team and obviously it's great, and it's just such an interesting week to free hit actually, and it is actually so hard to choose and narrow it down. And I think I agree with Rich. Like I'm thinking like, where do I like what are the really prime fixtures, and how do I exploit them most? That's really obvious, but how do I exploit them most, and kind of where are those sort of double ups that I'd want to sort of almost go all out? And I agree with Richard. I think like with Rice, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, he'll probably score loads of points. I mean, before Bruno scored 18 points, he was the highest scoring midfielder in the game, which is ludicrous.
It's insane.
But you do kind of see that fixture, like you say, you don't really see a ceiling there for Rice. You see more of it like a really solid defensive game, which is kind of a bit of a shame. Then on that, I don't really know. I really don't. I'm struggling with which Arsenal defenders it would be because Hincapié.
It's got to be Hincapié. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think on a free hit, that's fine. I mean, by the way, I'm annoyed that people. I mean, I really wanted to see loads of people buy him this week because I just don't get that at all. I don't get that. I don't get someone who you're buying who you likely have to transfer out in like 2 or 3 weeks. That's 8 points.
Starting left center back until Gabriel's back. I think that's
exactly.
like the logic.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
but we don't. We just don't know when Gabriel's back. We could well be back in like 2 weeks. So just feels too. I don't like it myself. But yeah, so like I'm thinking, where does that open up the space? So I think I would want to move Rice just to open that space. I mean, I think about United first of all, and I think
Bumo. Maybe.
I think maybe Bumo because I think I know that people have talked about matchups. I'm not going to kind of talk. I don't really go into that too much in terms of the matchups and the tactics. But a lot of people, you know, Baker was saying as well. For example, it's great for the matchup. Kind of he's great against these transition teams, and Bournemouth hate the transition and this sort of stuff. And he always looks. I mean, I know people said he had a bad game against Wolves, and he did by his standards in terms of his actual finishing stuff. But he just always looks like he's going to do something. I mean, he could have multiple returned in that game. He is a kind of an output monster, to be honest, Bumo. So that looks like a nice opportunity there. And Bruno Fernandes, by the way, can I just really quickly talk about him because I think it's relevant. That was so. I know it was Wolves, so I know there's the caveat of Wolves, but it's not really about Wolves. Last week, Rich is leaving now, just as I was about to reference or something. I was saying, like, I didn't want to repeat it to you, Alon, but I was kind of saying, like, when you get these players, they play in this defensive midfield role or this sort of withdrawn role, like he has been. It's so funny to me when you get attacking players who do that because they almost become like a kind of caricature of themselves. It's like method acting or something. It's so binary with them. They either go full out quarterback defensive midfielder and it's just OTT kind of cautiousness, or they're the number 10 that they always are naturally.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating to me watching the Everton game against 10 men and West Ham, where Bruno is literally, because it's so binary with him, because he's doing this unnatural role, he's standing there, not even getting involved in the attacks, just going, yeah, well, pass it to me, pass it to him. You give it to me and I'll give it to him. You give it to me now and I'll give it back to him. You know, like orchestrating play. And when we're like 1-0 down against 10 men, like, what are you doing? Like, you need to be making incisive runs and really pushing the attack and so on.
Yeah.
And it's always so funny. They're always like, Rooney was the same. You know, he could be great at the quarterback role, but it's just OTT with it. And what I really liked against Wolves was from minute one, it looked like Amrim had that almost exact conversation with Bruno where it's like, you need to, what are you doing? Like, you need to be making these seriously incisive runs, get up the field. And from minute one against Wolves, it was almost like regardless of the opposition, I hope, he was making last man runs. I mean, he was stretching the defense. I was going, whoa, what's Bruno doing here?
The channels behind the center backs, all first half.
Completely different. So, and that's crucial to the whole of Man United and what we offer. Like, that completely changes Man United and what they have to, when you have to suddenly deal with Bruno doing that changes everything. It's like dealing with 2 extra attackers almost when you've already got. So it's so big for our team. So I just wanted to say that, like, he could have got more than 18 points yesterday. And again, I know that was Wolves, but I really liked what I saw in terms of what he was doing. But still, Bumo was the one. So anyway, that's quite nice. Because if you've got Bruno, do you just go for the double up on a free hit? Because then I think also, because Liverpool is the other one where again there's kind of logical opportunity that lies. And I don't know if you've seen tonight, but Ekitike is playing with Isak tonight because obviously Gakpo's
hurt, Kies is ill.
Yes, we've got these real like big signal. Like Salah's not going to play for you again probably, and if he does, it won't be till if he ever does, it'll be in February. Yeah. That's like real big indicators, and because the interesting thing to me is
4-4-2,
and Isak's the one who, you absolutely kind of got to have for the opportunity because he can just go off and get hat tricks for fun, and he's just got that incredible finish. But Ekitike is the one who looks like we've got the evidence with Ekitike. We've not got the evidence with it. The evidence with Isak is history. The evidence with Ekitike is more real in that he looks big, fresh, confident, sharp. Confident is the key word. I mean, he's burying everything. He really is the one where it's like
Isak hasn't had one good game.
Exactly. Exactly.
And Ekitike's had 8 good games,
Yeah.
So,
and if you were betting on one to play 90 and one to play 60, you know which way you'd go with this one. So I sort of like look at that and think, I can understand you really
I wish
do.
one was a midfielder so badly.
I know, but I do look at that and think, because it's difficult because Thiago looks like a great pick, and so does Raul, and Raul's really nice because he's low owned. But I am wondering whether you go for double Liverpool attack, to be honest, and kind of go all out, or Soboslai does look really good, by the way.
That's one of the things about the sorry, I cut you off. The Liverpool Brighton game is just like, I think I'm not alone in saying the way that most people would expect that game to go is Liverpool will probably take a lead. They'll probably be up 2-0 and 2-1 or something like that. And Brighton will probably make 4 subs on 75 and win the game 4-3. And it'll be insane. And that's just kind of how Liverpool's season's gone. But you can't pick FPL players for that, right? Like, in a weird way, I don't want the Brighton guy who's going to start. I want the Greek child who's going to come on the 75th minute and brace, but you can't pick a team for that,
No, exactly. I mean, one thing with Liverpool is, and again, this is purely speculative and it's just a bet. It's trying to cling on because you've got to sort of find what you can. But my inclination now actually with Liverpool is that, having no Salah, sadly, who's been the best player for a long time, and he's an absolute legend, he's incredible. My inclination is that they need to now not have Salah, for various reasons. I think Salah is 33. He's not going to be what he was, and he isn't someone who defends. Sometimes you just need that thing for team spirit, where it's like it's like Man United when Cantona left. Everyone thought, "Oh my God, what are they going to do?" Like he's the man. He does all the goals, and it was only through Cantona leaving that we could become what we were with all the youngsters and the Beckhams and Scholes and Giggs. And I know that's years and years ago, but that's a really good example of that. It leads to unity and to sort of confidence and people taking roles and responsibility and stuff. And again, like, I know they messed it up in the end, but Leeds away is not an easy place to go. And for 70 minutes, it was like, hang on a minute, this is a one-sided game. Like this is good stuff.
Everyone watching was thinking the exact same thing as me, which is just they're just going to coast to 2-0. This game's over. It's just 2-0. Nothing's going to happen. And that teams have struggled to do that against Leeds. Yeah.
And so Salah making way, like, it allows that whole shift. Like, we can already see what the future is. The future is Wirtz and Isak and probably Ekitike. And it's like all those pieces and those cogs, they won't go into the holes while Salah's there. He's just too much of a legend and talisman, and he doesn't, he's just too much specific in his role. So I know that's a lot of kind of speculation stuff, but I lean towards thinking I more expect Liverpool to turn around for the positive than to carry on just being as bad as they were. But so it's a reasonable bet to go there, isn't it, with Brighton? Because Brighton are going to play as well. Brighton are going to play. Yeah. There's going to be goals in that game.
I mean, everyone's selling Minta. This might be the week I actually go Minta. Like, he's one of the only Brighton players who you can think he might play 90. He might play 85 plus minutes. And at some point, Konate is going to do a Konate, and Brighton are going to get some huge chances, and maybe he'll be a part of that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a hard one, I think, to attack from an FPL perspective, because we all expect goals both ways, but who's going to get the goals and when, crucially, are the goals going to go in is a big factor. And that's why, back to Sobo, literally hasn't been subbed off once this entire season. So pretty good chance that he's going to be part of something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Cunha either, in terms of like free hit.
Yeah.
He had 1.16 XGI yesterday, and he had the most shots of any player in the league or something. Like, he had something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked much better. I know that's a risky one, but I bet you that's probably backed up by models. So I've not got open FPL review, but I bet you it was pretty good.
He had 8 shots. Oh my God.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I can see that. I can see goals in that game, both sides really, but definitely. I can see goals. So it's It's fun. It's certainly fun, and he's definitely going to start. And he's got that. The minutes, even just the minutes against Wolves, helped.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, man, there's so many tough decisions there. Like
a lot of decisions.
I do like James, by the way. I do like that a piece of that sort of something.
Something cheeky, little high upside. Maybe he gets assist clean or something like that. So it could be something there. But yeah, there's a lot to play with. And then we haven't even talked about captain. I mean, I'm probably on Saka, but there's a lot of other riskier but similar type of high upside ceiling guys you could also go on. So
yeah, I think on that one, I mean, you're making the kind of the chancy positions are elsewhere, aren't there? I don't think you need to push too hard on that one. There's a lot of logic behind you backing Saka, especially if you're not going to have presumably still one of the most popular captains in Haaland, yeah. I think if anything, though, if in this team, you're it's between Saka and Bruno, isn't it? It just depends on which one you favour. I don't think. I think it's one of those ones where a lot of people will assume that they're going to be quite keen on Saka, and the closer they get towards deadline, they'll think more and more about Bruno, I suspect.
Well, the thing with Saka, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, is like, I don't even know how much it matters who the opponent is. It more matters what Arteta wants from them in a certain game, or maybe a certain set of games with the Champions League and everything. Is like, is this just an easy Arsenal 2-0? Because if that's the case, I should be tripling up Arsenal at the back and be nowhere near Saka and captaining Saka. But there's some part of me that's like, but it could be 5. So therefore, I want a potential triple return of Saka and a pen or something like that. So that's also playing in my head a bit.
That opens up the conversation about Gyökeres as well, really.
Yep.
Because I guess you have to look at his minutes and predictions to start and stuff. But you're right. I don't know how that. There's going to be a reaction from Arsenal. Is it a cautious reaction, or is it? I would think. I would think Saturday night, 8 p.m. at home, in front of the fans against the worst team in the league. You would think there'd be a bit of an all-out reaction. You know, a bit of a like, let's batter them. So I think
we'll see their lineup tomorrow. If it's Marino up top and Martinelli wing and like Trossard and Gyok and other guys get a rest, and maybe we're looking at a team where we're like, I feel good about these cheaper midfielder attackers, maybe bracing or something like that. But
I'll tell you who
Gyok,
I'll tell you who is interesting as well for a bit of fun, and who looked really interesting to me when I watched the highlights earlier today is Gordon.
I have the exact same note. I thought, I didn't watch the full match, but I just watched the highlights. That was the Gordon that we thought we'd get all season finally showed up, right? I mean, he was great.
Yeah, when you think about catching a wave and it's all about timing and that sort of stuff and trajectory, to me, what I saw with Gordon was, hang on a minute, we've been waiting all season for this, and it's like, oh, he looked locked in, like he hit the post and the bar, both of them from like 30-yard pile drivers.
Yep.
Obviously buried his penalty. He was taking players on the wing, creating chances. He looked,
loved it.
It really looked. It looked like a guy who's like back, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big derby. Newcastle going to Sunderland. I don't know when the last one was. I can't remember. Maybe it was recent. I can't remember one for a while.
No, it was not recent. I mean, exactly. Sunderland's been in League One, right? So it's like
So that's a big derby, and I expect. I feel like Sunderland. I mean, I feel like Newcastle are more on the upturn and Sunderland more on the downturn in terms of general season trends. And
what are the odds of a Gordon red card, though?
Yeah, true.
Got to be through the roof.
Yeah,
the passion.
Yeah. Did you see that Tarkowski, by the way, on the weekend? Just random.
What the fuck is that?
He's such a dirty bastard, isn't he? It's kind of refreshing though. That like, since when did players sort of start getting away with that again? Like, and I think it's almost because it's Tarkowski, so they just think, oh, I expect that because he's rum. Like that against United, because he was doing it all game against United. When was it? It was against Xerxes. Xerxes was up front for us, and he was doing it. He must have fouled him off the ball 10 times in the first 45 minutes. He was just digging him, bashing him, running into him, all completely off the ball. And it was like, that's Xerxes got up and stood up, and they were a bit of a square off. And I was like, you dirty. But then that one on the weekend, he absolutely
unbelievable.
And Did he even get booked? I don't think he got
No,
booked.
didn't get booked.
He's a dirty.
I got a pop quiz for you guys. Tarko's, this is his 10th season in the Prem. How many times has he gotten a red? Either a straight red or 2 yellows for a red. How many reds do you think this guy has? How many times has he been sent off?
I'm trying to think if I can remember one.
I'm sure he has.
I'm sure he has. So I'm gonna go. I'm
Zero.
sure he has.
Zero.
No way.
0.
He's gonna go for
Dirtiest
2.
fucking player in the last
Yeah,
decade.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Never been sent off.
It's incredible, isn't it? There's the psychology of like it's expected. You know what I mean? It's like we expect Donald Trump to say stupid shit and lie, so it's okay. And it happens all the time. We expect Tarkowski to be rum and just elbow like people, so it's okay.
Imagine me watching this as a Savona owner who gets a yellow card in the 19th second of the game for a normal foul on the guy with the ball. And Tarko does get a yellow. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Foul. Incredible.
I have to shout a couple of punt spots from the chat just to see if you like this, Alon.
Oh, yeah.
So quite a few people were like Trossard. I don't know if that interests you. And the other one that's has come up a bit, other than Gordon's already been mentioned, Watkins. So he's away at West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, there probably is something there. I mean, Villa, along with Newcastle, I don't know if the stats even back this, but this is just how I see it in my head. But they're probably the 2 teams who I subtract the most from when they're away versus home. So I see away Villa, and I'm already like, they might score 1 goal. They're going to struggle. It's going to be a sloppy, dirty game. Where if they were home West Ham, I think I would be all over it. But there is something to be said. I mean, Ollie's looked way better last few weeks. There's a shout of Mullen starting, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Before we move on, I have to say as well something we haven't noted here, but you've got a couple of players in there that's basically impossible for most people to pick, which is quite nice as well, isn't it? I mean, not impossible, right? That's completely unfair. But you've got a couple of players who, Dango going away,
right,
awkward for people, Szoboszlai 4 yellows. You got those kind of players who it's quite nice, isn't it? Because you know that it's very contextual to this week. Which is always a bit of a strength there. So that's nice.
I was gonna ask you guys, I've been playing this game for 15 years, as you know this. Is there a way to see like net transfers out? I could have sworn there used to be on the FPL site net transfers out, but now I only see in and out. I don't see net.
Oh right, right.
Yeah. So you have to do it manually, basically.
Yeah, because like someone I was just looking at like Minta. I'm like, I'm probably getting rid of him, but 27,000 people have brought him in, and then I have to go to out and say, okay, 161,000 transferred him out. Okay, so yeah.
All right, no, on the app it shows them next to each other, so I can see 27,000.
Okay.
Yeah, like they're next to each other. 27.
So I'll go to the app. Yeah, because I'm low key wondering, like, this is probably not the smartest way to build a free hit team, but I'm like, who's everyone given up on who I actually think is pretty good? Minta.
So Minta is yours, yeah.
And Minta away Liverpool. I'm just like, that's pretty good, honestly. Like, I don't think 160,000 people should get rid of him this week.
Well, Bumo's been sold by 500,000 people.
Unbelievable.
Well, no, there are. I was going to say there are. I think there's a little bit of a caveat there, but like I know, for example, our friend Mikey, who did the goalkeeper question earlier, he in his situation, I don't think he has a lot to change. So doing Brian up to Bruno is sort of a forgivable use of a transfer probably at this point in time. It's probably going to be quite a big price swing over the next week or two. So I get it. But yeah, generally it's not a great move this week.
Generally not
but
great.
A quick word on Minte before we go on to other things, because I have to say I've really struggled on this one because I bought him in on wildcard 6, so week 6, which is probably, I'd say there's only 1 or 2 people knocking around who had him at that point, that we know. And it was purely because there was some money in the bank. It was him and everyone else was getting stack, and it was like it didn't really feel like that was anything other than flavor of the week type thing. And And actually, Minte served pretty well. I mean, as Danny knows, he's kind of got unexpected hauls here and there, but then blanked in the fixtures the way you'd hoped he would. And this kind of serves your point, Danny, about Brighton generally. They're so hard to predict. And it's interesting because at some point I'm going to have the decision as to who goes. Is it going to be Minte or Anderson? Because, I can't stick around with 3 good mids forever. It's going to be quite an awkward situation. So, and I don't know the answer to that because the fixtures for Minte on paper are obviously really weird and up and down, aren't they? And I'm tempted to say I prefer him this week, for example, to one of the fixtures where it looks like it's a green. I think he's got Sunderland the week after. I might be wrong about that. I'm tempted to say maybe I prefer him this week than I do next. But generally, I don't think I'm going to be able to hack keeping him for that long because it feels. I've made my money on him, so to speak. I've got a couple of hauls from him, but I don't especially feel amazing about him going forward because I know that Vifa's going ahead of him quite often, and actually he's lagging back a bit. People haven't been that impressed with his performances. I don't really know how to feel. He's just not shooting a great deal, and I think in the long run, I feel more comfortable with Anderson being a kind of whatever bench spot, whereas Minte, I feel like I expect something of him. So it's quite a tricky one to get your head around with Minte. Do you own him already, Alon?
I don't own him, and I've probably told a fair few people to not bother. And I think some of his assists are not really that sustainable. But I mean, Brighton are such a hard team to figure out, right? I mean, we all know that they're one of the better attacks, one of the more aggressive teams who will go out and try and win a game. They're not going to sort of sit back, and Minta's minutes are better than you might expect them to be, right? I think from last year, you kind of expect him he's a rotational player. He'll sub off early. He'll start a few games and not start, and that just has not been the case at all this year. I mean, he's just nailed. I think he's just frustrating, but he's solid. I mean, that's kind of how I would try and put it is he's frustrating, but he's involved in a lot and he doesn't shoot a lot. A lot of wingers don't shoot a lot. But he is creating a lot and he gets the ball in dangerous areas, probably more than other, similar-ish players or, similarly priced players at least. He's okay. I just think long term he'll be okay and he'll keep starting and he's nailed and you could do a lot worse. I don't think he's really ever urgent transfer out.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. If that's
let's just
helpful.
Quickly go back. There's one kind of. I guess we should probably move on pretty quickly to this, but perhaps if we could just have everyone's opinion on Late Riser's question here. I don't think he's with us in the chat this evening, but he sometimes drops in.
Oh, yeah.
Is it better to whine about the bad luck if you get it? Sorry, if it's genuinely bad luck, or just nip it in the bin without saying a word to anyone and move on? I'm not really sure.
Supposed to nip it in the bud, right?
Yeah. Nip it.
Where are we nipping it? Yeah, we're nipping it.
Well, you can put it in the bin. Yeah, it's fine.
Put it in the bin. Yeah.
I suppose it's really a question about how valid is it to whine? Is it useful in FPL terms to kind of do a bit of exorcism after a bad week, or do you just try and sort of push it on and not worry about it and carry on straight away and sort of hair of the dog, get straight on with it again? I don't know. I mean, what's your take on this, Danny?
I want to kick this to you, Danny, as well. But I just wanted to say, this reminds you at the beginning of the pod when Danny, you were saying what is a punt? Because that's where my brain goes when I read the question is okay, so what's bad luck and what's good luck? Because that starting at defining the terms already just clouds the question entirely. It's But anyway, Danny, take it away and then I'll answer.
Yeah, I mean, so tough to answer because it's so complex. I mean, broadly the answer would be no. Don't kind of moan about it a lot. I mean, I don't, for want of a better word, moan, because it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in your mind, and I don't think negativity helps yourself. But I mean, two things to say is, I think everybody likes to have some acknowledgement, because I think we're all different judges of luck. I mean, typically your average player thinks that they've been much more unlucky than they have. And that's because humans always remember the things that have gone wrong and we don't remember the things that have gone right. And it's the same when we view other people's teams. We generally just remember what went well for them. And so it can be quite frustrating. I think we should all be now like quite objective, rational, balanced people who I think when us lot generally say we've been very unlucky, we probably have been unlucky, in terms of this particular season. And I think Late Rise has definitely had lots of bad luck. And I remember like lots of clean sheet wipeouts and stuff like that. I mean, he'll know better than anyone, and that's the frustrating thing, is he knows better than anyone, whereas the rest of us are not. We don't really care. We care about LR as a friend, but people just care about their own team, and they don't remember these things from other people. I think you don't want to do it online because people online don't care even more, and it'll just there's always someone who's been more unlucky. I do think it's nice to have. You want some acknowledgement from your fellow managers, don't you? If I speak to Rich, for example, all the time, or even you, Alon, and I'm speaking to you. If I've been really unlucky, just a little word from one of you two to say, "Yeah, you've been really unlucky there, Danny, the last few weeks." I'd be like, "Oh, god damn, someone else knows. Thank you."
Yeah,
That's all I want. That's all I want. Like, at least my fellow managers know something. So I can totally understand. You do need that. You can't just sort of keep it all to yourself because it can get really quite frustrating. And you do want people to notice because you care about what other people think. Ultimately, we care about what our friends think because we all play this game, to try and do well at it and try and be good at it. So you definitely want that. I think you've got to really find a balance. I mean, because the kind of almost the last thing to say, well, not the last thing to say, but the key point is, FPL is a game of acceptance. It's a game that you really have to approach beforehand, fully accepting that you're going to be unlucky and lucky in the long term, and it's going to be horrible and cruel at times, and that's not easy. I know it's easy to say that, and it's much easier to sort of say than do. But I have been in that position a lot of times, and where I kind of think, I've been so unlucky, but I always. I see myself as a pessimist, and actually, I don't think I really am. I think deep down, I'm an optimist. I'm a reluctant optimist, because no matter how unlucky I've been, I think, well, that's the game, and I'm only thinking about next week. Like, what I've got to move on and just accept that. It's like his kind of question, like, would I rather play the game? Because I think a lot of people have quite a bad reaction to it and they retreat from the game altogether, which is fine if you want to retreat from the game. But some people retreat from the game and deliberately start making crazy punts, or deliberately like captaining this or doing that. And it's really, sometimes I think, is a bit of a defense mechanism where it's like not having to deal with that kind of torture and bad luck. And I think for me, the question is always like, what would I rather? Would I rather play the game and give it my best shot and accept not doing well, or not play the game at all to the way I want to play the game? So the answer for me is always, I would rather just play the game and give it my best shot and have no regrets, even if I know I'm going to have 3 years of shit ranks. That's always the answer to that question for me. I would rather play the game seriously. So it never deviates from me in terms of, I do think that helps me in terms of bad luck and how I feel about it and how I whine about it or where I go, is that I know that long term, this full season and next full season and the next full season after that, I'm going to continue to just play the way I play and make that choice and have that notion of acceptance in my mind. But yeah, to LR's point, is I totally acknowledge you do want that little bit of acknowledgement, don't you, from some people sometimes?
Yeah. But that's why you got to have that closed circle that you can trust. But yeah, I mean, Danny, you're so goddamn well spoken when it comes to stuff like this, and you know what you're talking about. But yeah, I assume you guys aren't baseball people, but there's this legendary baseball dude called Branch Rickey, and he got asked about like his luck or something like that, and he just said luck is the residue of design. And I think this is like, in a way, a very LR thing. Like, we all talk to him a lot, and his thing is always like FPL's best played in the form of least regret, and he has his insane record of finishes, right, where he's been like, triple digits multiple times. And I think haters would probably look at that and be like, oh, you were lucky to cap Aguero for that 5-goal game, and you were lucky to, whatever it is, however he got there. And I think that, like, FPL is just, there's no sure thing ever. There's no such thing as a sure thing in this game. And you can have all the information and you still have to act the exact same and forget about any sort of certainty. And I think that like when you play the style that LR is trying to play, which is what we all know him for, you're intentionally increasing variance. But that is part of the style, is increased variance, because sometimes I'll hit it and sometimes I'll finish #1 in all of India, which is fucking insane. And like, that's why you are who you are. But at the same time, you have to accept that if you're going to play a high variance style, sometimes it's going to go against you. And that's just how it is. That's the tactics you're deploying, So that's what it is.
If I can give one kind of little sort of situational addition before we kind of move on here. Now, I rarely give her a shout out, but the greatest known human in the whole world is obviously my wife. And she allows me, Mrs. FPL Richie.
Mrs. Richie.
She does something every now and again. So if I'm having a really hard time, whether it's FPL or something else, right? She's now created a kind of interesting rule for me, which is that she'll allow me, if I need it every now and again, to take basically a ticket for like a 24 hours of being mopey. I'm allowed to mope for 24 hours. I'm allowed to be miserable, to complain, to blame everything else other than myself. But after the 24 hours is up, I've got to be back. So
that's fantastic. I love that.
Which is kind of helpful for me because, I do like a good mope every now and again. Sometimes it is necessary. But so I'm allowed it, but I just have to move on. So that's so. LR, if you're listening, maybe that's your style. You could do something.
And I don't want to take this into like a serious, too serious of a chat. I'm really not trying to go there, but I've had my own struggles with like mental health and stuff, and it does affect your FPL team. Yeah. Like, we're playing this game. It's a very like living game that you have to constantly sort of pay attention and adjust your beliefs and figure out what's happening and whatever. It's no coincidence to me that I'm having a tough time moving and all this bullshit, and it reflects in your FPL team. So like, you gotta get your 24-hour moping out of the way, get your shit together, go back to the gym, whatever, and you'll get back into the headspace where you want to be. It takes like, I really do think you have to be in a good place mentally to sort of make good decisions. And if that's what you care about, then that's what you got to do.
Just last thing to say quickly, but I think Alan's point is obviously crucial and so true and important, in that it is about your play style as well, and that look and that variance is inextricably tied to that acknowledgement, and that acceptance that I was talking about is tied to your approach as well. And it's just like, if you think about it, like, and it's really obvious, but the analogy that came into my head was like, some people will be in Vegas and go to a casino, and they will have a pretty good time no matter what. They'll go and sit on a roulette table with $50 or $100 and get free drinks all night, and just bet a few chips here and a few chips there and last all night and sort of leave okay either way. You know what I mean? Whereas some people go to a casino and they're going all out, and they're putting massive stacks on in blackjack or whatever, and they're the people that are either going to be screaming with joy or screaming with pain and agony, and having a divorce by the end of the night. And it's kind of a similar thing. That's what the people who are going with a $50 limit are kind of deciding, the extent to which they're sort of going to feel that pain. And that's just a silly analogy, but it's true, isn't it? It's a little bit of choice in there as well.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm conscious that Alon, I don't want you to regret coming back, because we always keep you on for an insane.
I know. We were like,
it's okay. I got the Liverpool game on the other monitor. Don't worry about me.
We were aiming for something in the around 2 hours tonight.
So we've got 90 seconds in 2 minutes each. Yeah. 2 minutes each.
Mrs. Alon, I think, did something for lunch. She's got a water. I think I'm gonna eat good after this. So we're
nice.
Oh, that's good. Okay, yeah. Right, we'll skip on to our teams in just a second. The only thing I wanted to just note here is that I'm pretty sure that's the best clean sheet odds I've seen for any team this season.
Oh,
so that
my
Arsenal
goodness.
fixture. In fact, it might be the best.
57.
It might be the best projections for scoring and conceding. I'm not entirely sure, but certainly that's the biggest home banker, so to speak, of the season so far, I think. So Arsenal, just in case you're audio, 2.71 goals projected and 0.56 conceded. So
And FPL always does everything for engagement, right? They just make the game like sillier for more engagement and craziness. When you're on free hit, you should just have unlimited picks per team and unlimited money. Imagine I just go full Arsenal 11 on my free hit. Just fuck it. Yeah, 5-0. Lock
yeah,
it
because
in.
you could if you could predict a back five.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think
but yeah,
on Rob T's other slide, it had the percentage chance of winning, and because I saw Harry comment on it online, and it had Wolves as 1% chance for the game. I don't think I've seen that before. I don't know if I have or not. But
There's got to be a limit, right? I mean, football is such a high variance game. It can't get that high. I don't think that's crazy.
That's generous, if anything, I would say. I'm not going to talk through these scores, but I just wanted to kind of flash it up because I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
The Arsenal one, but everything else, do watch and look or go to Rob T direct. We're going to go straight to Alon's team then. So this is obviously we've already seen your free hit team, but we'll just a quick sort of nod to because we've got both sides. Yeah, technically.
Yeah, if I didn't free hit, that's the team that's up right now. I mentioned already I have Calafiori suspended. I have Mo who isn't working for the team anymore. I have Ndai away Chelsea, which is a bad fixture, and he has AFCON coming up. So I'd probably look at like maybe 3-ish moves, and maybe I would get Bowen. I'd probably go towards Bruno and Foden, or plan to get Foden after this week, or so, probably similar to a lot of people's moves, right? It's just kind of get the guys who are clearly good and you want immediately and angle that way. And it's easy because Mo's 14 million, so I could get anyone very easily. So something like that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue that this is a good week for you to do this. I'm just going to read it out for audio. So Calafiori suspended, Savona, Timber, and O'Reilly, and midfield Anderson and Jai. Salah would have been captain maybe, and Saka, and then Thiago and Haaland with a bench of Dubravka, King, Rodon, Krupi. So I think it's a pretty reasonable time to go against it with the free hit. I don't think we can argue with that. You would have made multiple moves, but now you got more time to think about it. You can do your stash in 17 when everyone else has blown their load. So
yeah, this is it. It's quite nice, isn't it? It's not just nice that it makes sense for a team with the suspensions in the team, but a whole week's information. I know you basically, I guess, lose a transfer, but we always do with free hit or whatever.
Yeah, lose a transfer.
But a whole week's information for this team is nice, I say, because it's that structure's already there. It's not like a huge, but so having that whole week, for example, for a full week to see what to do with that Salah spot that you would otherwise probably have had to address this week. And even just seeing Parma, you never know what we see from Parma. Something. It's quite nice having that, and then quite a lot to find out this week. I think after a week's rest now, back in business, and Arsenal with a good fixture at home, and Chelsea with a fixture at home, and all this sort of stuff. Quite a lot of information, I think, this week.
Yeah, you never know, but you mentioned Cunha earlier. He's like the perfect example of someone who could just pop off, and then everyone's clamoring to get him, and I'll just I'll have 5 frees. So
exactly,
whatever happens, hopefully something good for me.
Yeah. So probably a minimum of 2 moves next week, isn't it? From the looks of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Minimum,
Mo
probably,
and Ndai.
probably 3. Cool. You never know. I mean, I think I did see something before we came on that Salah in theory would be available for the squad against Brighton, but I mean, like, let's be honest. Who knows what's happening there?
I doubt it.
I
doubt it.
It's me next. So one move already made. With Mateta Thiago. I'll just read it out for the audio. So Pope in goal, obviously, is kind of a dead spot at the moment. Virgil, Anderson, and Timber at the back. Minte, Foden, Bruno, Anderson, and Saka captain, Thiago and Haaland, and then a bench of Dubravka, Senesi, Rodon, and Gui. I don't remember how much money there is knocking about, but there's definitely something approaching 2 million, I would have thought, in the bank. So it's a funny one. So the obvious thing, I have to make a goalkeeper transfer. Really, it's one of those. You either kind of just leave it entirely, which would be the kind of thing you do if you had one move. But with 5, it seems pretty stupid not to just address that now. But it doesn't need to be someone with a good fixture this week. So again, if you think about the good keepers knocking about that I mentioned earlier, I mean, Pickford's got Chelsea away. It's not exactly a great entry point or whatever you want to call it, but I don't think it matters. I think you just get whoever it is, I'm going to play them and bring them in for that spot. So it doesn't affect anything else. The rest of it, I'm in two minds really. I think I could definitely afford to sit and wait on it, but probably if I was going to do anything this week, it would be one of those cheaper midfielders. Like, I think if all things were the same and there weren't these issues that I'm going to mention, I might even bring in someone like a Szoboszlai. But obviously with that 4 yellows issue, there's still that knocking around. The defenders, well, there are quite a few people I like, but I don't really like many of them this week much more than what I have. So again, Palace defenders, do I want to bring them in this week? Is it really worth it? Everton defenders, not really worth it this week. Obviously, again, away at Chelsea. I could basically the only upgrade that I could do in the whole of the defense probably is an Arsenal defender this week, and I don't really like the outfield ones, and I don't particularly think the Rare is worth it now with the 6 million price tag. So it's tricky. I think if probably the weak spot in the team I look at there, if I was addressing it this week, would be one of the cheap midfielders. But yeah, what do you think?
Wouldn't you
Notes.
start Dubravka over someone like a Pickford?
It's possible.
I mean, I don't know what the Rob T sheet is, but I mean, home Fulham is pretty damn good. Even though Burnley are the worst team in the league, and they will probably finish in 19th or 20th. I just feel like, I don't know if you're getting a big upgrade for this week.
No, that's fair. I think he's the only one that I might bring in where that would be in theory.
Yeah, that's probably right. Sure. Yeah.
But in a way, for the sort of process point of view, you just don't. I'm not going to worry about that until Saturday morning. Unfortunately, I know that that's a bum logic, but that is the reality. Any notes, any thoughts? Should I be more proactive, really? So I'm going to be projected. I'll be rolling 3 transfers if I just do the goalkeeper move. It's
rolling 4, right? 4, not 3, right?
If so I've done one free. Mateta to Thiago already.
Oh, I forgot you already did that.
Yeah. That was the only one because it's already going to be probably a 0.3 swing by this point. I would have thought so. It's such an obvious one.
Yeah, no, it's nothing obvious. People are using transfers for the sake of it, aren't they? Whereas you don't need to. I don't think. So it looks good. I do like the shout about Dubravka. Actually, that could buy you another week if you wanted to. Just buy you a week's worth of information. So obviously, I know you'll think about that anyway. If you wouldn't start the keeper that you bring in, but it's something. I mean, he outscored Raya, didn't he, last week? Bastard. He got 3 points with Dubravka. But yeah, I mean,
I hadn't thought about not doing
Arsenal
the keeper
defender.
move this week.
Arsenal defender. I mean, seems obvious to me. It would kind of have to be Hincapi, which I know you're not a fan of, Danny, but like. It just makes your team better, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, tough.
Delaying the keeper move is not bad. For the record, I just feel like you might.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
You might learn something. You might, maybe your Forest completely shut down Spurs, and then you're like, oh, it sells for sure. Like they look good or whatever.
I think that the keeper that would harm the most in terms of likelihood of bringing them in would be Bob, because I think probably the better of the fixtures this week, and then after that it's probably a little less appealing.
Yeah, that's fair.
So for not that this should matter, because as Danny quite rightly pointed out earlier, keeper is such a long-term move, you don't think about it. But it's I think Martinez has West Ham away, Manchester United at home next. Pickford has 2 pretty tricky ones before he goes into a very good run, and then Bob, as I said, has a nice immediate game, and then just a standard kind of mixed one.
We haven't mentioned just Dubravka to Rammers and just never think about keeper again. and just get
No,
all
come on,
100% of
man.
Newcastle.
I'm not doing that. But yeah, I think the other thing, by the way, is that going into this week, I was fairly certain that I was going to be moving on Senesi, but I think now I mean, he's probably still going to go, but it almost just feels more logical to roll to use him 17 and then do something when I've got like 4.
Yeah.
So anyway. And Saka captain obviously is the other mention there. I think that's probably going to stick actually. But so we'll see obviously how Europe goes. Danny's up next.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say quickly, because I was just having a look at the transfers, just out of interest, because just ever since Alon was talking about before in terms of transfers in and out, because I actually posted when I posted my score last night, and there was truth in it. It was just sort of said like Foden was the Bruno decoy, and he obviously was. There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Loads of people are going on Foden. They're still not going on Fernandes. Still certainly didn't last week. Who, I've been saying, or we've been saying, it's not about I told you so, but just describing him as the best, pretty much the best pick in the game, certainly one of them. That's what I still think. So that's what was really nice about it, was that his ownership was still so low last week. I mean, obviously we know about Foden, but I'm just looking now. It's funny, isn't it? Because so many people have made a lot of early transfers. It's really nice that Foden did haul again on Saturday. We already know he's gone up shitloads of times. Millions of people brought him in last week. He's already been brought in by 850,000 people this week. That's after what, so he's going to go to 8.6 million tonight.
Yeah.
So that's 0.6 rise in a week since I brought him in, which is, I don't think that's ever happened before. But, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? That Foden's on 850,000 transfers in. Bruno Fernandes is still only on 270,000 with 50,000 transfers out.
That's crazy.
I think that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Because this guy, Bruno Fernandes is an incredible pick, and they've got amazing fixtures coming up. So I know we'll get more transfers still come in for the rest of the week, but there's a lot that's already been set in stone there, because it's not only been set in stone in terms of transfers used, but as I said, the point about the Foden decoy thing was not just about transfers, it was about structure. Right. A lot of people can't get to Foden and Fernandes unless you were already set up in that kind of way. So, and people are quite reluctant to go to Bruno. They've made their opinion up about what kind of pick he is. And Man United, obviously, there's a lot of Man United thoughts out there.
What's funny is they have Madrid, right? They have Madrid tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. City, right? So that'll obviously be on everyone's mind. If Foden braces again, he's going up. Bruno's stocks are going down. More people are bringing him in, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, wow. Never seen movement like it for him. So that's quite nice to see that, actually, because I was thinking, 18 points now, the whole world's going to have Bruno, and then it's another dead spot. But it doesn't look at the moment, early signs like that's the case at all. Net transfers only 200,000. So, but it was only last night, I suppose.
Cash just scored for Liverpool, so we got to get him in.
Oh my god! Yeah, like Matty Cash has been transferred in by 325,000, so more. Bruno G has been transferred in by 400,000.
Oh my!
So. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be quick because we're not going to get good reviews from Les here, are we? In terms of length. But I made 3 transfers on Saturday.
Oh,
Saturday night.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't fuck about with these things when it comes to the old
all right.
The old classic 5-3s. No, I mean.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Sorry, I didn't actually see Timber.
Yeah.
What were the moves? Mateta to Thiago. We know the yeeting already.
I'd already done that last week.
Oh, okay.
So I did Mateta to Thiago last week, and then on Saturday night I did Bumo to Saka, which is not easy because they've got Bournemouth, and it, like I say, is a good pick this week. But Saka captain is what it is. There are other routes I could have gone, but I'll talk about that quickly. But the sacrifices were too much for me because I had quite a lot in the bank, right? So I had like 2.5 million in the bank or something. I could have done something like, a defender downgrade for 0.6, 0.7 or something like that, and then just gone Njai to Saka and kept Bumo. But I don't like that long term structurally. That's just too much of a sort of change of direction just to keep Bumo in the team. So I was always really going to get Timber in this week. Missing a Timber. I'm not like I'm wildly excited as I was previously. Sort of a bit of a centre back role now, and a bit of a. Obviously, Ben White's a bit of a dent to potential minutes and so on. But I still think he's pretty solid. And just another one into that Arsenal defence. Saka was coming in anyway, no matter what, pretty much, again for captaincy. So then it was Njai to Dewsbury Hall. And it was Goodmanson to Timber. So just to read it out quickly, I've got Raya in goal, Anderson, Timber, Van Dijk at the back, Bruno, Semenyo, Foden, Dewsbury Hall, Saka, Thiago and Haaland up front, and then Senesi and Lacroix on the bench with Guiu. Can't remember how you say it now, Guiu. So yeah, I mean, obviously I've changed it structurally, which is it's not typically like me because I had that kind of 4.0 spot in Goodmanson, but I don't know, like the way I feel at the moment, especially with this sort of tight period with loads of games, and I quite like the options and some of the rotations that are there and some of the choice. I mean, I've got to have like, I've got these cheaper mid. You talked about Senesi to an Everton defender likely in 18, and then that probably means Semenyo downgrade to afford that, which makes sense as well from the fixtures. So then you've got 2 cheaper mids. I quite like it with the option at the moment with five kind of big defenders, to be honest, because they've each kind of got, they're just very good fixtures. It's quite sort of polarized fixtures, isn't there? A lot of people have got like Wolves and home and Leeds at home, and then they've got Arsenal. It's like something like that. And so yeah. So I've got Senesi with Burnley at home, as Rich says. I've got Anderson, who's not going to leave my team. I've got Timber, who's probably not going to leave my team. I've got Virgil, who has, in the next 6 weeks, Leeds at home, Wolves at home, Burnley at home, and Fulham away and Spurs away, sort of thing. So there are fixtures there that I'm happy to play him in and that he could get big returns on. Then you've got your Palace defender in Lacroix, who is still a Palace defender. It's still going to be useful. Maybe I end up switching that around for a different Palace defender, but do I really want to sell him? Again, when I look at, Dewsbury Hall, for example, I think he's got Arsenal. Is it Arsenal next week? So that's a stinker. So straight away you want 4 defenders, or you're benching him anyway for that fixture. I mean, it's bad. Chelsea away isn't great, but I don't mind it because, talking about Dewsbury Hall, I just think he's a sensational pick really all around. I mean, he's just avenues to points.
Don't remind me.
Just yes, yeah. I know. I heard Alon today on your pod again today.
I was just 4 weeks early on every best pick in the game. That's really what it comes down to. I was early on all these guys, sold Dewsbury Hall before 9, 13, 7, 3, 16. Ouch, you can't make that up. I mean, you cannot make that up.
Late Riser sold him on Saturday as well, I think, which he's gone for the keeping Minter role. I'm not sure if he's very happy with that. I don't know. I just think, I think long term, the fixtures are there. I just think he's incredible. But I don't really mind even with Chelsea away. I mean, that's the sort of pick I think we're talking about here with Dewsbury Hall. We're talking about a guy who's talisman, on form, really good player, shoots, scores. Positionally, I mean, I presume he goes back to the 10 because Gay's just served his 3-match suspension, but I haven't even looked into that because I'm not actually even that bothered.
I'm curious about pens too, which is something that we do not know when Ndai goes away.
I think he probably takes it. I think he probably takes them.
It's like between him, Beto, like Garner, there's not a long list.
There's Garner. I mean, I can't see Grealish stepping up. I mean, I don't think Barry's got the self-confidence and he's a player, and same with Beto. And whereas Dewsbury Hall he looks like he's taking everything on his shoulders at the moment. I think, I mean, it's only like it's not like a huge sort of expectation or bet. But if I had to handpick one right now, I would say that Dewsbury Hall would take it.
He took a few for Leicester back in the day, so
yeah. So I just think I don't even with the avenues to points, DEFCON, all that sort of stuff. Don't mind that at all.
I mean, you're there now, but I mean, I swear everyone is going to be there in 18.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's already. I think if he didn't go up in price last night, he's going up tonight. I can't remember. I think he went up last night. So yeah, I mean, one of the reasons for that move, by the way. So that was, it's kind of interesting. They've talked about the sort of all the price swings this week, and that is one of the downsides of free hit. But that left 0.1 in the bank on Saturday night, which is why I did the move then to go for those 3. I had to be very decisive because selling Goodmanson is a big decision, and hopefully that by the end of the week, that's still what I wanted to do. That's what I feel at the moment. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I'm already probably 0.4, 0.3 or 0.4. Can't afford that, and it's Monday.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna come out of my free hit and just be like, "What now?
Yeah,
all the money go."
Yeah, well, yeah. Guess what? You'll have to choose some cheap guy, and then that cheap guy hopefully is the one who bangs. You know, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so I don't think is there much more to say there?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
My only small question is, obviously you were very keen on. Well, we were talking about the merits and demerits of O'Reilly last week. Is that plan still possible next week, or is that gone now?
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and of course it is, because I've got the. I mean, annoyingly, for example, I can think straight away off the top of my head that I'm 0.1 off, for example, Leclerc to O'Reilly.
So annoying.
Is probably the most annoying one actually on paper, isn't it? Because again, with the fixtures for all the other guys, they're not going. So actually, yeah, you're right. There's such a trickle down effect, by the way. I won't bore you with it, but Thiago. I only went to Thiago on Friday last week because I couldn't decide, so I don't regret it. But if I'd have gone for Thiago on the Thursday, I'd have an extra 0.1, and I'd be able to do the crowd to O'Reilly, for West Ham at home. So you're right, Rich. Like, that's a pretty scary fixture. That is something that at the moment I don't have. But again, like, it's who you own and not who you don't own. And so I'll still look at it and go, well, I've got an Arsenal defender. I can't remember what it is, but they've all, I think next week, Senesi's Burnley at home.
Yeah.
I think Virgil's like Spurs or something like that. And Leclerc's Leeds. But again, so it's okay. But Leeds away, when I'd like to see some rotation from Palace before that, because otherwise I'm not going to feel good about Leeds away, to be honest.
Right. So I best bring him in next week to make the pod interesting.
God.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah, lots of good options next week.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. Just a quick word on the kind of 5 at the back type thing. I mean, I was scrolling through for the next few weeks, and especially game week 18, by the way, I would implore other people to have a look. It's such a 5 at the back week, game week 18. Because if you're like my team, for example, two cheap mids, I've got Minte away at Arsenal, right? And like Anderson home at Man City. So why wouldn't you play 5 at the back that week when you've got, when you've got players like well, again, the Everton fixtures start nice, good fixtures for all sorts of players, really, to be honest with you. Everyone that you could name that you might own has a broadly pretty good fixture that week. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Great. I will take that down and put us.
We'll let Alon go for his lunch before it's.
Yeah. Midnight snacks for us. But actually, someone's mentioned in the chat. I haven't looked at this, but apparently Dewsbury Hall and Minte rotate very well. So that could be interesting for some people. I don't know. I haven't looked at that myself.
I've looked at it.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, like next week, for example, Minte has Sunderland, whilst Dewsbury Hall has Arsenal home. Brighton have Arsenal away the next week, whereas Everton have Burnley. So, just an example, but that does continue for a little while as well. Yeah, so interesting. Thank you very much, Greg.
Good one.
Good. Well, we better leave it there. Alan, we have done longer, so it could be worse.
We've done longer.
We've done longer,
and I knew going in. I ate before. I had coffee. I knew.
You built up the stamina.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel better now than when you did when you came in?
I always do. I always feel better when I chat with you guys. Every time. So yeah, I feel great.
Ditto.
Excellent. That is good news. Well, if you haven't already, do make sure that you go over and subscribe to FML FPL and sign up for the Patreon. Get your ass slapped.
There we go.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is very specific to this pod, right?
Yes,
it
is.
It's not just me being weird, although that is possible. But yeah, go and get your ass slapped over at FML FPL. And yeah, I mean, why not?
Why not?
Is it always you who does the ass slapping, or does Walsh occasionally slap?
Always me. Always me.
It's always you. Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. Well, you never know. Maybe he'll go into ass slapping mode at some point.
Yes.
Great. So do go over and sign up, etc. That would be really good, and we'll share this to make sure that they get their credit as well. Brilliant. Well, have a nice rest of day, Alon. Thank you for everyone joining us in the chat, and we'll see you again very soon. Over and out.
Nice one.